He said that he did his preliminary report and on 17th and 18th March. On 17th and 18th March 2023, and concluded the final report at the end of May 2023. PWF stated in paragraph 14 of his adopted witness statement that he read the petition and the first respondent replied to the petition, and in doing this report stated that he could not recall whether he read the petition. But when his attention was drawn to paragraph 14 of his statement, he agreed that he had read those pleadings. He admitted that it is not impossible for errors to occur after deployment of technology or application. When referred to paragraph 22 and 26 of his statement, he stated that he referred to the metadata on the IRF in 3 polling units. He established that it is possible to show metadata. He stated that there were errors in those polling units, and he did not have to examine the physical copies of the Form CC8A of those polling units. He stated that from the tabulation of the metadata, he could not tell that whether the results stated in those polling units were collected. He stated that all the work he did was on his computer. He confirmed that the AWS security model is a shared responsibility model between AWS and the client. He stated that he was aware of the cloud trail and confirmed that the cloud trail will explain the availability of the application of INET on the AWS infrastructure. PWF, who insisted that there was an electronic collation system, only pointed to an upload at the last paragraph of PCK2 and stated that it means an electronic collation system. When cross-examined by the second and third respondents, PWF denied that it was part of his brief to assist the Labour Party to respond to the respondent's reply. He admitted that he did not inspect any of the Beaver machines and did not interrogate Festus Okoye, whose statements he referred to. He confirmed that Exhibit A, which he attached to his report with the metadata of 23 pages, showing multiple uploads. He denied that it contains information which are coded and not displayed, and he said that the information he provided are encrypted and readable. He admitted that he supplied some links in some paragraphs of his report that stated he did not expect the court to go and browse, access, and download the information contained from those links. When cross-examined by the first respondent, PWF admitted that she downloaded the 12 polling unit results he had been assigned as his report from the IRF, and he did not interact with the presiding officers of those polling units and did not see the hard copies of those results. He could not also tell whether those results have been collected. Starting with the evidence of PW's servant, it is evident that she is a person who has an interest to serve in this petition, being a member of the second petitioner, under whose platform she contested election for House of Representatives. Her interest in this petition is further underscored by her admission that she had been attending court and watching the proceeding prior to making her statement of and testifying as a witness. Her testimony, therefore, was essentially a demonstration of her support and loyalty to the second petitioner. Her claim to being an employee of Amazon Web Services was also suspect, as she produced no credible evidence to that effect. Exhibit PCJ2, which is the paper she presented as evidence of her employment by AWS, is obviously a worthless paper. It has no author, although she insisted that the author is employee resource center. The paper was also not signed. Her evidence adds no value to the petition case, because she stated that her evidence relates to the full status of AWS in terms of infrastructure and not in terms of security. She had admitted that the expert report in Exhibit PCJ 3A to F, which she brought to court, are actually documents publicly available on Amazon website, which she downloaded, and her only claim to its ownership is that she was the one who downloaded it and brought it to court. She even admitted that she could not add or subtract anything from the reports. Those reports are obviously not her own. She also admitted that the health status of the first respondent's application posted on the AWS is not before the court. Her conclusion on the total of them of this witness is that it is devoid of any protective value. As for PWA, he has demonstrated that he worked to an answer. Not only did he admit that he read the petition and replied to the first respondent in the course of his commission work, he also stated that he read the Electoral Act and annual regulations and manual for election officials. On the authority of Ladoja and Najimobi, the evidence of this witness is also not of any protective value. Apart from the above, the other witnesses of petitioners, especially PW4, PW9, 10, 12, that the non-compliance with Section 73 of the Electoral Act has been established, which has invalidated the election in those states, which the second respondent was declared to have won, namely Benue, Borno, Ekiti, Jigawa, Kogi, Kwara, Niger, Ondo, Oyo, Rivers of the State, which are shown in the form ECFDA, admitted evidence as PDF. He pointed out that Section 135, Section 1 of the Electoral Act only deals with not compliance generally, but Section 73, Section 2 of the Act has provided a specific effect of non-compliance provisions. Relying on Crown's Council Organization for National Policy and Strategic Studies, he urged the court to hold the substantial non-compliance has been established. Arguing par contra, Land Senior Counsel for the First Respondent referred the court to Section 135(1) of the Electoral Act 2022 and submitted that the petitioner complained of non-utilization of prescribed forms, even though not proved, cannot without showing the effect on the election be basis to avoid application. He submitted that the attempt by the petitioner to exclude Section 73, subsection 2 of the Act from the ambit of Section 135, Section 1 is non-starter because the non-compliance referred to Section 135(1) is for the provisions of the Act, and no part of the Act was excluded by the section. It posited that for non-compliance with Section 73 of the Act to avoid an election, it must have substantial effect on the election, and the petitioner have neither proved such non-compliance or shown that it has substantially affected the role of the petitioner have contended that since they are alleging that the first respondent failed to record in the prescribed form the quantity and particulars of the materials used in the election, they are alleging the negative, and aside the burden is on the first respondent to establish that they have fully complied with the provisions of Section 73 of the Electoral Act, have lied on the First Bank of Nigeria, Aviation Business Investment Limited, Royal United Nigeria for Sterling Bank. While it is true that the burden of proof is generally on the party that asserts the affirmative for issue and not on the party who asserts the negative, there is an exception to that general principle. Where the negative assertion forms an essential part of the party's case, the burden is on him to establish that fact. This position was clearly stated by the Supreme Court in the case of Buhari and Ani, where Toby JSC stated held that court. A negative allegation must not be confounded with the mere traverse of an affirmative one. The true meaning of the rule is that where a given allegation, whether affirmative or negative, forms an essential part of a party's case, the proof of such allegation rests on him, close of court. Again, this court, in Dashi and others, was proven and others, espoused this legal position when Ugo JC held as follows. Quote, I have no doubt that this argument of appellants about negative and positive assertion is misconceived. For while it is true that the burden of proof is generally on the person who substantially affirms the positive application and not on the person who makes a negative assertion, there is a caveat to that principle to the effect that where a negative assertion forms an essential part of the plaintiff's case, as evidently in the case of the appellant, the burden of proof of such allegation rests on him. The law on this point was lucidly stated by Bowen LG in Abraham, Northeast Railway Company, 11 Kingsman Division 440 and 457, when he said that, quote, in an action for malicious prosecution, the plaintiff has the burden throughout of establishing that the circumstances of the prosecution were such that the judge can see no reasonable and probable cause of the in one sense that it is assertion of the negative, and we have been praised with the position that when the negative is made out, it also proof shifts. That is not so. If the assertion of the negative is an essential part of the plaintiff's case, the proof of the assertion still rests on the plaintiff. The terms negative and affirmative are after all relative, not after the close of court. In the instant case, the petitioners have made their allegation of non-compliance with Section 73(2) of the Electoral Act 2022 by the face respondent as an essential part of the case in a challenging the result of the electoral election declared by the face respondent. Not only are the petitioners statutorily required by Section 135 and Section 1 of the Electoral Act to establish substantial non-compliance with the provisions of the Act, they are required to show how such non-compliance has substantially affected the result of the election. As rightly observed by the Learned Civil Council for the face respondent, the non-compliance that would not validate an election under Section 135(1) unless it is shown to be substantial and to have substantially affected the result of the election. It encompasses non-compliance with all provisions of the Electoral Act, including Section 73, subsection 2. Therefore, in other words, Section 73, subsection 2 is not derogated from the ambit of Section 135, Section 1 of the Act. Indeed, in Buhari and Ani, though is a while considering Section 145(1) of the Electoral of the old Electoral Act, similar to Section 135(1) of the external Electoral Act 2022, had held at page 48 paragraphs B to G that, quote, a petitioner who files a petition under Section 145(1) of the Electoral Act has the burden to prove the grounds. This is because he is the party alleging the grounds, and he has a duty to prove the affirmative. He is the party who will lose if no evidence is given on the grounds. If the party does not prove his case under Section 145(1), the action fails. Therefore, the petitioners who have alleged non-compliance with Section 73, subsection 1, as part of their course of action, have the burden to establish such compliance in accordance with the requirements of Section 135(1) of the Act. The petitioners have also relied on the evidence of PW and on its TCQ1 and TCQ also tendered to PW. The SCPs are acknowledged copies of letters dated 6 March 2024, 14 March 2023, 10 March 2023, and 20th March 2024, all written by the petitioners or their solicitors to the chairman of the face respondent, demanding for inspection of documents and for certified true copies of the electoral forms. The petitioner also relied on subpoena duties document served on the face respondent to produce the said form. In his testimony at paragraph 60 of his adopted written statement of law, PW merely stated that the petitioner made several applications through his campaign organization and solicitors for certified copies of election documents, data related to the presidential election, but they were denied by the first respondent, and that the first respondent had failed to record in captions the quantity, serial numbers, and other particulars of the result sheets, ballot papers, and other sensitive electronic material. The record of proceedings of this court also shows that at the instant of the petition, subpoenas dated 30th May 2023 and 13th June 2023 were issued from the chairman of the first respondent document. The record also shows that on the 20th June 2023, one Olufunmilayo Taiwo, Deputy Director of Certification on Complaints and Legal Drafting, with Ali appeared on behalf of the first respondent, answered to subpoena testimony. While she produced some of the documents required of the first respondent in the subpoenas, she informed the court that the documents listed in the subpoena as listed B, C, D, and E are in the States, and since the subpoena was served on them just before the previous day, it will take some time for the first respondent to get them. An examination of exhibit PCQ or PCQ6 which were tendered by the petitioners through PW12 show that all except PCQ are letters addressed to the chairman of the case of honor by the petitioner and their solicitors requesting for inscription of documents and for certified copies of those documents. Exhibit PCQ4 is a covenant letter addressed to the President Electoral Commissioner, Benue State, from the law firm of Dr. S.A. and Co., notifying the respondent, the Resident Electoral Commissioner, of subsequent action on the subsequent letter by the National Chairman, dated 6 March 2023. It is instructed to serve under Section 74(1) of the Electoral Act 2023 mandates the Resident Electoral Commission in the state where an election is conducted within 14 days after an application is made to him by any of the parties to an election petition, cause a certified true copy of that document to be issued to the said party. Subsection 2 of that section even provides that any resident electoral commissioner who fails to comply with subsection 1 commits an offense and is liable on conviction to a maximum of 2 million naira or imprisonment for a term of 12 months or both. A look at the letters to the PCQ1 to PCQ6 showed that they were all addressed to the chairman finally instead of the resident electoral commissioners in the state as required by the petitioners by section 74 subsection 1 of the Electoral Act 2023. It is therefore clear that the petitioners have failed to follow the clear legal procedure for requesting for those documents. More so when the record shows that the subpoenas which they claim to have served upon the first responder were also served on the chairman of the first responder, and as stated by the officer who answered the subpoena, same was served only the previous day by chairman's court. From his evidence, PW12 has stated that apart from voting as a polling unit, 04 at Dawaji, Abuja, the only role he played in the 26 February 2023 general presidential election was that he was a member of the second petitioner's situation, and on cross-examination by the respondent, he stated that he was neither a polling agent nor a collection agent. His evidence that the first respondent had failed to record in prescribed forms the quantity, serial numbers, and other details of the electoral materials can only be hearsay, which has no probative value. Also, the mere production of PCQ1 and PCQ6 cannot establish an allegation of non-compliance with section 73 of the evidence. The Electoral Act 2022. Apart from the evidence of PW12 and PCQ1 to PCQ6 tendered through him, the petitioners have produced no other evidence to substantiate their allegation that the first respondent failed to comply with the provisions of Section 73 subsection 2 of the Electoral Act 2022. Rather, PW10 came first here, the supervisory presiding officer for Madagali Ward in Adamawa State, who was subpoenaed by the petitioners to file on their behalf, has stated in paragraphs 4 and 5 of his witness statement of oath that as a third officer, he reported to the local government area INEC office in Bula, Madagali local government area in Adamawa State, on the 24th February 2023 to collect the sensitive and non-sensitive materials for the 26th February presidential election and National Assembly election, and that after collecting the material, he proceeded together with security agents and other INEC officers, which consisted of presiding officers, assistant presiding officers 1, assistant presiding officer 2, and assistant presiding officer 3 to Madagali Ward that evening to the registration area. His evidence was also to the effect that on the day of the elections, everything went well, and after sorting and counting the votes, the presiding officer did the entry and snapped the results with beavers for the upload and transmission of the votes to the INEC portal, but we were unable to upload, and when they complained to him, he requested them to come to the registration area. It is therefore clear from the above that the petitioners were unable to establish their allegation of non-compliance by INEC with Section 73 of the Electoral Act 2023. The evidence PW2 and the PCQ1 to PCQ6 have not been able to rebut the presumption of regularity, which inures to the first respondent under the law, which can only be rebutted cogent and credible evidence, the APC and Sheriff, others. From the totality of the evidence adduced on this issue, and with the considered view that the petitioners have failed to prove substantial non-compliance with the provisions of the Federal Act of therefore, God against the petitioners and in favor of the issue 3 is whether from the totality of the evidence the petitioners have proved that the presidential election held on 26 February was invalid by reason of corrupt practice. Here again we have considered the submissions of counsel. So in their petition, the petitioner made allegations of suppression of scores, unlawful deduction and inflation of results, uploading of fictitious results, misrepresentation and inflation of results where no election took place, overvoting and non-completion of results. These allegations are contained in paragraph 60, 78. In paragraph 61, 64, 65, 68, and 69 of the petition, the petitioners allege that due to the first respondent refusal and neglect to upload and transmit the result of the election to the IRF on the date of the election, the first respondents raised the actual scores obtained by the petitioners. According to them, the suppression of the first respondent scores, which occurred in 18,088 polling units, was orchestrated by the first respondent, deliberately uploading readable and blurred forms and suppressed the lawful votes obtained by the petitioners when it announced their votes as 308,374, and that of the second and fourth respondents as 310,408. When the actual votes of the petitioners' political party will show that the petitioners won the presidential election of 26 February 2023. They stated that the petitioners should rely on a report of inspection of the electoral material. In the earlier ruling of this court, on the preliminary objections raised by the respondent on the propriety of the environments contained in the petition, we held that apart from the allegations of inflation and reduction of votes in Rivers and Benue states, where the petitioners have stated the figures are to be inflated and reduced, the other allegations of the petitioners were nebulous and bereft of material particulars. We held that the said environments contain no particulars of the polling units where the alleged infractions took place, but the figures are to have been inflated or reduced. We had struck out those paragraphs for offending paragraph 4.1 of the sexual schedule of the electoral action. Indeed, apart from the strict requirement of stating material particulars in election petition, it is also tried that in civil litigation, including election petition, whenever fraud or any other crime is alleged, material facts of such allegation of fraud or other crime are pleaded and clearly set out. The Umuborio and others was addressing, Peso Limited and Money Legion, Lorin and others was Tangolan, others. The petition allegations of suppression of votes, inflation and reduction of votes, massive misrepresentation and inflation by uploading fictitious results, all amount to falsification of votes of an election. These subject the Supreme Court held that allegations of inflation with non-existing votes is another way of alleging falsification of votes. Indeed, in Haruna and Modibo, the Supreme Court held that where a petition is based on allegation of incidents of fraudulent acts, manipulation of results, or falsification of results, that allegation is criminal in nature, and evidence required to prove thereof must be clear and unambiguous. Otherwise, the proof must be beyond reasonable doubt. This section 135 of 1 of the evidence Evidence Act and the cases of Buhari and Obasanjo, Emmanuel Mana, Idiago, Oti, and Abubakar, and others with Yaradua, Mishore, and Koshola, Magaji, and all progressive companies. In order to establish certification of election results, the petitioner must produce evidence, two sets of results, one genuine and the other false. In the cases Kaki and PDP, Mobodo and Ono, Adewale and Laifa. We also Chima and Noze was Ken, Bichere, and others. Joseph, Jimmy, Kolawale, Abaje, was Babatunde, Raji Fashola. Atiku and another was Judgement. To prove their petition, the petitioner also who indicated during pre-hearing they will call 50 witnesses or only 13 witnesses. They are mentioned here. Of the above 13 witnesses, only 3 had their witness statements on court filed along with the petition. These are PW1, PW2, and PW12. In our ruling on the respondent's objection to the consent of the witness, petition witnesses at the beginning of this judgment, we have struck out the evidence of PW3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 13 on the ground that their witness statements were not filed along with the petition as mandatorily required by paragraph 4.5b first schedule to the Electoral Act. However, even if the statements of those witnesses of the petition were to be considered, the question is, are those decisions cogent and credible to establish the petitioner obligations stated above? PW1's testimony was only on the alleged double nomination of third respondent and fatal proceeding, which have already come above. Even as he stated that she voted in his polling unit during the election, he stated that she did not play any other role in the election beyond exercising his civic responsibility. As for PW2, who said she was a software engineer, he stated that upon his reading of the relevant provisions of the Electoral Act and annual regulations, he is aware that the presiding officer in a polling unit is mandated to electronically transmit or transfer the result of the election direct to the collation system as prescribed by ANI, and also use the beavers to upload a scanned copy of the polling unit result sheet to the ANI result report and ANI, prescribed by ANI. He said, from his knowledge of software engineering and computer operations, ANI is a server and is accessible to the public. He said he was aware that the information or data generated was inputted in the beavers were operating online or offline, were transmitted to ANI servers, including virtual servers hosted at AWS Lab. On close examination of his opponent, however, the witness admitted that his opinion was based purely on his reading of the Electoral Act and ANI guidelines, and that he was not familiar with the applications and operations of the previous machine. He stated that he did not play any role in the election. Indeed, as admitted by the witness, the statement, particularly paragraph 10 to 13, is a virtual reproduction of section 38 of the Electoral Act 2022. On close examination by the fourth respondent, he admitted that he did not get his educational or professional qualification or experience in his statement on oath. He also stated that his investigation was based on publicly available application program interface (API) and collected information through it, like from ECHS. He said he did not have the document and form he used, and that everything was his laptop. Contrary to the speculation of the petitioners that ANI was not prepared to conduct the promised credible, authentic, and transmitted election, or that it deliberately or mischievously allowed the compromised IT infrastructure deployed for the conduct of the presidential elections. PW2 confirmed that Amazon Web Services is the most secure service providers in the world, and that it is used by corporations, companies, individuals, and governments that are most concerned with skills. There evidence, PW2 did not talk about the contents of any result. Instead of supporting the petitioner's allegations, the evidence of this will support the case of the first respondent. As for PW3, PW5, and PW6, he merely tendered flash drives containing speeches of the earning chairman, Mahmoud Yakubu, and earning national commissioner, Christos Koye, wherein they gave assurances that the results of the election will be transmitted to the area for public being mere assurances. The evidence of these witnesses had no utilitarian value in establishing allegations of corrupt practices made by the petitioners. In his evidence, PW4 tendered explicit D1 and 3, which he claimed to be the report of his analysis of the presidential election. The witness also tendered 4 boxes containing what he called 18,088 blood polling unit results downloaded from the ARI portal, which were also admitted as PCE1 and PCE4. However, in the earlier ruling of this court, on the respondent objection, we have struck out PCE1 to 3, as well as PCE1 to 4, along with the witness statement of PCE4, which was not filed along with the since documents were tendered to the incompetent witness. The witness claimed in his evidence that from his investigation, the scores on forms ECFS of 39,556 polling units were inaccessible, as they contain uploads not connected with the convention election, and that the number of accredited voters affected by the 18,088 black vote was 2,565,209, while the number of voters who collected their PVC was 9,165,101. According to him, this signified that the votes of 5,533,553 accredited voters were discounted at face respondent. He added that 23,119,208 registered voters collected their PVC. Those 39,546 polling units, and concluded that both the number of accredited voters of 5,553,553 and number of voters who collected their PVCs of 23 million polling units far exceeded the margin of bid from the first respondents announced result of 1,807,206 over the face runner and 2,603,153 over the second runner. PW4 also stated that in Benue State, neither the results he obtained from the area nor the CTC or from CCLAs matched the results of face respondent. He stated that the early CTCs or from CCLAs showed that LP got 272,468 votes and APC got 256,852 votes, while the results from the RF portal showed that LP got 260,700 votes, while APC got 268,630 votes. He added that the earlier announced result showed that LP got 308,372 votes, APC got 310,468 votes. He concluded that by adding uncovered votes and detection votes affected by voting, manipulation and deletion in Benue State, LP got 201,426 votes, while APC got 208,600. A look at the 10,088 black polling unit results, which the witness claimed to have downloaded from the RF portal, show that they were not certified by the first respondent. Being second evidence of public documents, they are clearly inadmissible. This section 89 and 90 of the evidence are put on the level. Case of Emeka Pial others. Of note is that PW4 admitted under close examination by first respondent that the primary source of the data he used in his investigation is from the RF portal. This clearly means that he based his investigation on inauthentic data, since the essence of certification of public documents is to ensure authenticity of public documents. See the cases of Eboy and Araka, Manuel. Also under close examination, PW4 stated stated that his reference to Form ECFA and the result on IREF portal are not the same thing, and that Form ECFA is a paper, while the result on IREF is a copy of it. He particularly admitted that by his reference to blood from ECFAs on the IREF, he was not suggesting that the hard copies of Form ECFAs are also blood. This admission by PW4 also dealt a death knell with the allegation made by his petitioners in paragraph 60 of the petition that the first respondent suppressed the first respondent's court in 2008 for unit by deliberately uploading unreadable and blood from the ECFAs on the IREF. In fact, PW4 had under cross-examination completely rubbished his own report when he admitted that the IREF portal is not capable of collecting and tabulating the election results, and that it is the image of the Form ECFA that is transmitted to IREF, while the hard copy of Form ECFA is taken to the collation center, which he stated that is collected at one local government, state and national collation center. He also admitted that since the result of the Form ECFA is taken to the collation center, the failure to transmit its image to IREF, or that image transmitted its blood, will not change the result already entered the Form ECFA. Again, the witness admitted under cross-examination that his report in PCD1, PCD2, and PCD3 only covered the two states of Rivers and Benue, and that he worked on only available data, that if he had more data in his report, it would have been different. He further admitted that his report in PCD1, 2, and 3 is not a product of expertise, as any secondary school student can do the simple arithmetic involved in it. This admission by PW4 effectively rubbishes his entire report as inconclusive and manifestly unreliable. Fourth, the evidence of this witness, even if it were to be considered what is inconclusive. As for the evidence of PW7, we had earlier liars and evaluated her testimony and found that she was not only a person interested in this question, the report in his PCJ 3A, which she told the court purporting as an expert witness, was merely downloaded by her from the AWS file, which was openly accessible to the public. Her evidence is also not objective but with regard to the evidence of PWA, I have earlier analyzed and evaluated his evidence while going into suffice it for me to state that I found that PWA, having admitted that in the course of his commission work, he had read the petition and the first respondent's reply, as well as the electoral and annual regulations and manual, and that he finished his final report in May 2022 during the hearing of this petition. PWA had critically worked with determining answer, and his evidence was of no problem. PW9, who gave evidence as an accredited observer of the election, had stated that everything about the election in the polling unit, which he observed when accreditation and voting took place, the votes were counted, and the election went on smoothly in the polling unit, and that the election officials complied with the annual convocation. He stated that the result was taken to the collation center by the election officials. Rather than support the petitioner's case, the evidence of this witness actually gave forth of the case that the election was conducted in substantial compliance with the electoral and annual convocation of 5,000. PW10 stated that she acted as an advocate presiding officer for Madagascar War, and that on election day she collected the material with security agents and other allied advocate presiding officers. He stated that voting went on well until 6:30 p.m. and all voters who were on queue by 2 p.m. duly voted at Unit 004 in Sab. He stated that after sorting and counting of the votes, officers hit the entry and snapped the results with the beavers, but were unable to transmit and upload sent to the Irish voters after the vote information assembly was uploaded. He stated that when the person officials communicated with him, he asked them to talk to the area where he requested them to meet. Who asked them to submit the beavers to him for transmission. but was unable to adopt. On cross-examination by the First Respondent Council, PWH stated that apart from the small issue between agents of APC and PDP, which was satisfactorily resolved, everything went well, and the results were entered from PCAs in the unit and were properly announced. And added that the fiscal records from PCAs were taken to the World Collection Center. Cross-examination by second and third respondents, the witness has confirmed that notwithstanding the difficulty in acknowledging the result, the collection from PCAA took place. The evidence of this witness also supports the case of the respondent rather than PW's 11, head of the Legal Services National Information Technology Development Center, NIDA, merely stated that he was due to produce and tender the following details. A. Correspondence, documents, letters, emails sent by him, or from the Independent National Electoral Commission, the National Information Technology Development Agency, requesting for the IT clearance approval of the IT infrastructure to be deployed and was deployed by INEC for the conduct of 2023 general election. B. The certificate of clearance approval issued by NIDA to INEC and passion to any request for any court. 3. The report by INEC to NIDA containing certification for the testing review of the IT infrastructure deployed by for the conduct of 2023 general election stated that they don't have any of the documents in their office. Under the examination by the second or third respondent, he stated that the NIDA Act does not contain cyber security standards. He also stated under the examination by the that their supervising ministry is the Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy, and that the minister stated that there was 16 million attempts to hack the IT infrastructure. Even with this witness, PW12, the petitioner's star witness, whose evidence was merely a copy of the environments in his petition, stated that on the day of the election, he voted at his polling unit at Dawaki, Abuja, after which he went to the situation room of his party. The second petitioner, he stated that apart from his polling unit and the situation room, he was not present physically at any other place on the day of the election. He stated that he was not a collection agent, polling agent in any polling unit or collection center. His evidence in chief was therefore mostly based on hearsay. He stated that hearsay evidence is inadmissible and has no probative value. From his evidence in chief being inadmissible hearsay, Exhibit H-Mark, a certified full copy of the judgment of Federal Court of Abuja, group number was tendered to him under cross-examination by the first respondent, and he read out a portion of the judgment of the court, which was in effect that the first respondent was under no mandatory obligation electronically transmit or collect the results of the election. Also admitted that he did not state in his statement of any figure unlawfully ascribed to the second respondent and third respondent by the first respondent. He also stated that his party had agents throughout the federation with over 133,000 votes. When asked by the agent, when asked by the second and third respondents council to state the scope of the Labour Party, the witness stated that she would not know scores the Labour Party because the stones are still being voted. He added that she would not know the unlawful votes and repeated it because he is not an expert and the Western was part of the statement. When cross-examined by the respondent, Peter said he was not aware that Ali Chama had given a statement that Ali did not transmit results electronically. When confronted by the first respondent council, he confirmed that his statement on oath. He stated that he will rely on the evidence of forensic expert was made on 20th March 2023, while the final expert report he was relied on was made in May 2023. Clear that PW12 relied on an expert report that existed at the time he made his statement. Obvious that the evidence of this will be last and the draft manifesto. PwC was the only presiding officer called by the petitioners in this petition. His evidence was that in polling unit 035, open field was 04, Chukun local government area in Kaduna State. The election went well. That thereafter, all efforts and not the prevention elections results was captured in form of ECLA. Failed, except the National Assembly result. But when all efforts failed, proceeded to the collection center, other ad hoc staff. When cross-examined by first respondent counsel, stated that he recorded the results manually, and the only problem he had that day was the uploading of the result. When he could not upload the result, he called his supervising officer, who told him to take the result to the World Collection Center, which he did. On cross-examination by second and third respondent counsel, he confirmed that after recording the result manually, he signed and the party agents also signed. When cross-examined by the fourth respondent, he stated that after signing the result, he gave copies to party agents. The evidence of this witness actually supports the case of the respondent that the election was conducted in substantial compliance with the Electoral Act. In Buhari and INEC and others, the Supreme Court clearly stated the law as follows. A petitioner who contests the legality or lawfulness of votes cast in an election, the subsequent result must tender in evidence all the necessary documents. He should not stop there. He must call witnesses, testify to the illegality or unlawfulness of the vote cast, that the illegality or unlawfulness substantially affected the result of the election. The documents are amongst those in which the results are recorded. The witnesses are those who saw it all, not those who pick evidence from an eyewitness. No, they must be eyewitnesses too. Both forms and witnesses are vital for contesting the legality or lawfulness of the votes cast and the subsequent result of the election. One cannot be a substitute for the other. It is not enough for the petitioner to tender only the documents. The incumbent on him to give evidence in respect of the wrongdoing, the irregularity of the conduct of the election and the recording of the votes. Wrongdoings and irregularities which affected substantial results of the election. Proven an election petition or proof fabrication petition is not as easy as the Englishman finding coffee on the breakfast table. Shipping it with the blade, particularly in the line of section 161. The petitioner has a difficult, though not impossible task because of God. See Muhammad and another from Allah and others. In this petition, where the petitioners have labeled several allegations against the first respondent, such as suppression of votes, lawful induction, manipulation of results, uploading of fictitious results, misinterpretation and manipulation of results, while the election took place, and wrong computation of results, it is evident from the above that the petitioners have not laid any credible evidence to substantiate those allegations. Of the 13 witnesses before, only 2 are presiding officers who are present at the polling units. The petitioners have not been able to establish any of those constructions which they made. The evidence of the witnesses which the petitioners brought as experts to try to establish that the first mandatory required to transmit electoral result for the purpose of the election or to limit the delay in the upload of the presidential election results were averaged by the first respondent. Any of the malpractices would be alleged at the work of any value. The petition allegations have begun mere speculations and unfounded accusations. The petitioners have failed to establish beyond reasonable doubt the corrupt practices which they allege. And this is 135, 1. On the petitioner's allegations of the voting, Landed Council for the First Responders contended that the proof of the voting, the direct record of accurate voters in the people's machine are required alongside the voters register affected polling. Pointed out that the petitioners failed to produce the people's machine and the voters register. He submitted that the voters, once this
petitioners, while this court relied only on the expert opinion of PW4, which is not credible. He submitted that when PW4 was confronted with the results calling with 002 of what some Bigima and River State, which was part of its report and was awarded in PCD2.
He stated that there was no overvoting, and the number of votes cast was voting, while the number of accredited voters was also voting. He relied on the regular and any this court countenance PW4's evidence of voting. The petitioner's allegation of overvoting is contained in paragraph 779.
In the other room of this court, the respondent's various objections to the competence of the above verbal petitioner's allegation of voting were upheld, and the court had struck
the same paragraph being very nebulous and imprecise, having failed to disclose the specific voting units in the state where the voting is alleged to have occurred, the number of votes affected, the alleged margin of lead, etc. Indeed, in that ruling, we had observed
that the forensic report containing the details of the polling units and other information which the petitioner said they have incorporated with the legal reference are not filed along with the parts with proof of their alleged above allegation of voting. However, the petitioners solely relied on the evidence of
the subpoenaed expert witness, as well as the forensic report made by him, which is contained in PCD 1 3. Exhibit PW4's evidence was basically that from his investigation in PCD 1 and 3, he discovered that there was overvoting in 4,407 polling units, which affected 2,317,129 voters who had collected their PVC. He stated that this also exceeds the margin of lead over 1,807,206 over the first annual. He also stated that from his analysis of River State dogs, the first respondent announced dogs which were inconsistent with those uploaded in the RF portal. PW4 also stated that from the Form 88 downloaded from the RF portal, there is evidence of manipulation
and against the Labour Party LP. He stated from the result on the RF portal, LP got 208,004 votes, while EPC got 118,999 votes River State, as against 175,071 votes for LP, 31,591 votes for APC. He concluded that when the unlawful votes are deducted, it will amount to
5,110 votes for LP and 4,108 votes for APC. In the ruling on objections, witnesses and documents made in the earlier part of the judgment, the witnesses stated on oath, the witness statement of oath, that PW4 was one of those stuck out.
Them not having been filed along with the statement of PW4 stuck up being incompetent. Exhibits PCD 112, fronted report tendered by him are also stuck up being compliant. As stated earlier, the oral evidence of PW4 contained the witness statement of and his report against PCD 1 3 as the only evidence used by the establish the allegation of voting. With the witness statement of PW
haven't been stuck up for being incompetent. In the forensic report in exhibits, PCD 1, 2, and 3 also stuck up for being inadmissible. There was no other evidence to substantiate the petitioner's allegation of voting. The petitioners have therefore failed to prove their allegation of voting. 3 is also resolved against the petitioners. So based on the
and regarded as one of the state of probation, or the status is to be regarded as distinct from the other states of probation, such that scoring 1/4 of votes in the FCC is a mandatory requirement for a candidate to gain fully respected. It is pertinent to say that unlike interpretation of statute,
the interpretation of the Constitution has its own guiding principle. We look at the principles stated in the Federal Republic of Nigeria versus Nigeria, quoted in the Constitutional Reports, where the Supreme Court succinctly reviewed cited cases, interpretation of the Constitution, and outlined these principles, guiding principles, follows. A. In interpreting the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land, mere technical rules of interpretation of statute will be avoided so as not to defeat the principles of government enshrined there. Hence, a broader interpretation will be required unless there is something in the text or in the rest of the Constitution to indicate. The literal meaning of the words used, meager, spoke, and parted. The words of the Constitution are therefore not to be read with specifying.
The Constitution must always be construed in such a way that it protects
what it sets out to protect and guide what it is meant to guide. The ability of in interpreting the Constitution of a nation, it is the duty of the court to ensure the words of the Constitution preserve the contentment of the Constitution. Every Constitution has a life and moving spirit within it, and it is this spirit that forms the reason of the Constitution, without which the Constitution will be a dead piece of paper. The life and moving spirit of the Constitution, which is captured.
It has been held that when a Constitution provision is interpreted, the cardinal principle is to look to the preamble of the Constitution as guiding star, and the directive principles of state policy as the book of interpretation, and that while the preamble embodies the hopes and aspirations of the people, the direct principles set out the approximate grounds in the governance of the country. These are code and union of India. In other words, if you interpret the words of section 212(1)(a) of the 1999 Constitution as amended,
caution guided by principles upon which the Constitution was established, rather than by direct operation or literal meaning of the word used in the provision, and where the literal meaning of the words used are not in consonance with the guiding principle. Literal interpretation must be petitioned to another approach that accords with the guiding principles of the Constitution. The interpretation that will serve the interests of the Constitution and best carry out its objects, purpose, and following this Constitution, the preamble to the 1999 Constitution loudly proclaims equality between citizens as its cornerstone, among others. Thus, we, the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, having firmly and solemnly resolved and to provide a Constitution for the purpose of promoting the good government and welfare of all
country on the principles of freedom, equality, and justice, and for the purpose of consolidating the unity of our people. We shall then make and give to ourselves the following constitutions. For those who are not used to
preambles, the Constitution, still in its fundamental objectives and directive principles of state policy, contained in Chapter 2 of the Constitution, which this code aptly describes as the road to construction, the Federal Republic of Nigeria repeats this equality principle. Under its social objectives provision of that chapter in section 17, it again proclaims that 1. The state social order is founded on ideals of freedom, equality, and justice. 2. In furtherance of the social order, every citizen shall have equality of rights, obligations, and opportunities for the law. Equality of rights in every citizen, as stated in this provision, cannot by any means be read to exclude equality of the weight and value of their votes. No, it includes it. Even more so, when the issue here is the right of every such citizen to elect with their vote their president, whose politics are supposed to and will affect all of them equally, regardless of which part of the country they decide to live. So even stopping here, the futility and hollowness in the argument of the petitioners that the votes of the voters in the FCT
Abuja have more weight than other voters in the country, with the essence of their votes purported to have a very effect on other voters rendered here. That notwithstanding, let us still proceed to consider for whatever it was their interpretation of Section 134 719 Constitution, which incidentally centers around the word and that provision. In the first place, the central position of the law is that the interpretation
of the court because should be guided by the principles upon which the Constitution was established, rather than by the direct operation of the
was used in the Constitution. And while the literal meaning of the words used are not in consonant with the guiding principles, literal interpretation must be based on another approach that accords with the guiding principles of the Constitution. It is quite clear that the current reading of Section 134(2)(b) of the Constitution will leave no one in doubt that the use of the word "and" by the framework between the words all states in the Federation
and the federal capital territory of Abuja indicates nothing more than that the framers understandable desire for consistency in referring to the federal capital territory by that name.
as it is done all through the Constitution whenever reference is made to the federal capital territory. The word and federal
do not by any means imply the meaning imputed to it by the petitioners. In any event, Section 299 of the Constitution dispels any lingering doubt that may still be existing in one's mind by stating that the provisions of this Constitution shall apply to the federal capital territory Abuja as if it were one of the states of the Federation, FABC. This provision states most unequivocally that the entire provisions of the Constitution shall apply to the federal capital territory as if it were one of the states of the Federation. It is noteworthy that the punctuation mark employed by the framers immediately after the part
provision entering the Federation, emphasized by me, is a semicolon, whose function is
the sentence is to separate independent clauses of a compound sentence. The Merriam-Webster's online dictionary, which defines semicolon as a punctuation mark used chiefly in a coordinating function between major sentence elements such as independent clauses for compound sentence.
Wikipedia also explains its use thus. In the English language, a semicolon is most commonly used to link two independent clauses that are closely related in thought, such as when stating the receiving idea of different expressions. The point being made here is that, contrary to the position of the petitioners, by the express provisions of Section 299 above, the provisions of the entire Constitution
shall apply to the federal capital territory as if it were one of the states of the Federation. This means that Section 134, Section 2B of the same Constitution requires the president candidate to hold at least 1/4 of the votes cast, 2/3 of the states of the Federation in order to be returned elected. Means nothing more than that. The federal capital should be taken into account in calculating the same 2/3 of states of the Federation. In other words, the FCT is no more than one of the states of the Federation for the purpose of that calculation. Nothing more than that can be applied when inferable from Section 134, Section 50.
If anything, this position is confirmed in the cases of Bakari and Ogundipe, where it was said by Apex Court that by virtue of the provision of Section 299 of the Constitution, it is clear that the federal capital of Nigeria has the same status.
It is as if it is one of the states of the Federation. And in Ibori,
where it was confirmed by this court that the federal capital territory of Abuja is to be treated like a state by virtue of Section 299 of the Constitution. If the Federal Capital Territory Abuja is to be treated like any other state, then it is not superior to or inferior to any other state in Nigeria. It is also my considered view that if the framers had wanted to make scoring 1/4 of votes cast in the Federal Capital Territory Abuja a specific requirement for the return of the presidential candidate.
I made that intention clear by using words that clearly separate the scoring 1/4 of votes in the Federal Capital Territory as a distinct requirement. As specifically stated in Section 299 of the Constitution, for the purposes of fulfilling the requirements of Section 134 of the Constitution for return of the presidential candidate as duly elected, the Federal Capital Territory Abuja is to be treated as one of the states in the calculation of 2,000 of the state of federation, such that if the candidate holds 25% or 1/4 of votes in 2,037 states of the federation, FCT Abuja inclusive, the presidential candidate shall be deemed to have been duly elected, even if he fails to score 25%.
The votes cast in the Federal Capital Territory as the second respondent institutions are called without any justification that in a presidential election, polling 1/4 or 25% of total votes cast in the Federal Capital is not a separate precondition for a candidate to be
elected under Section 134 of the Constitution. Consequently, Issue 4 also resolved against the petition and in favor of the respondent. It is right note that there is a rebuttal presumption of popularity with respect to the election of votes, and it is for petitioner to challenge it. Petition number 4, our learned brothers, number 5, sorry.
Petition read by my learned brothers and my esteemed friends. This is an election petition.
Petitioners against the first, second, and third respondents. First petitioner was sponsored by the second petitioner, People's Democratic Party. First respondent, the executive was created in Section 135 of the Code of Nigeria, 1999, with power to, among others, organize, undertake, and supervise all elections in the offices of
the citizens participated in the election. I did Tinubu Ahmed, and Tinubu Ahmed scored 8,794,726 votes, and Atiku and the PDP 6,980,000 wrongful, unconstitutional, undue, null and void, and of no effect whatsoever. It has made determined that the return of second respondent was by the first respondent was wrongful, unlawful, undue, null and void, having not satisfied the requirements of the Electoral Act and the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which mandatorily requires the second respondent to score not less than 1/4 or 25% of the lawful votes cast at an election in each of at least 2/3 of the states in the Federation and the capital letters, and the Federal Capital Territory Abuja. See that it may be determined that the second respondent was at the time of the election not qualified to contest the said election. See that it may be determined that the first petitioner had scored the majority of lawful votes cast at the presidential election of Saturday 25th February, be returned as the winner of the said election and be sworn in as duly elected president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. In the alternative, another directing the first respondent to conduct the second election.
In brackets, between the first petitioner and second respondent. In the further alternative, that the election to the office of the President of Nigeria held on 25th February be nullified and a fresh election rerun be ordered. G. Any such others as the Honorable Court may deem fit to make the office of justice. Upon being served the petition, the respondents joined issues with it by filing the respective replies, incorporating preliminary objections and made other applications. Some of the applications filed by the parties were heard and rulings delivered at the pre-hearing stage, while some were heard and rulings on them reserved till the time of the judgment of the court. We now proceed to consider them. 7 applications were filed and argued by respondents during the pre-hearing session of this petition. Two each
applications were filed by the first and second respondents, while 3
filed by second respondents. First respondents to applications were filed on the 19th of April this year and the 9th of May. First of these two applications dated and filed on the 19th, which also likely reflect the position of second respondent in these first two applications and third respondent in this first application. First respondent sought
striking out paragraphs 92. I gave the paragraphs of the petition on the grounds of their vagueness. Several paragraphs which you get there as you get your judgment. For being generic, imprecise, and lacking in specificity to elicit a reply from it. B, and other striking out paragraphs 129 and 138 of the petition for failure to join necessary parties. Among
two necessary parties, and one Atiku, chairman of the local government in the East. 3, another striking out the ground of the petition and second respondent did not stop majority of documents as contained in paragraph 16 of the petition for incompetence and lacking in specificity and materials needed for its sustenance. Consequent to 103 above, another striking out paragraphs A and B and T as sought in paragraph 130 of the petition and another striking out the ground of the petition and election is invalid by reason of non-compliance. Consequent upon 5 above, another striking out the ground of the petition alleging that the election of the second respondent is invalid by reason of corrupt practices as contained in paragraph 16b of the petition for lacking specificity and material parts needed for its sustenance. 7, another striking out the ground of the petition.
The second respondent was at the time of the petition not qualified to contest the election as contained in paragraph 16a of the petition for lacking specificity. 8, another striking out the ground of the petition that the second respondent was at the time of the election not qualified to contest the election. 9, consequent upon 128 above, another striking out
this petition for being incompetent. Frivolous, vexatious, abusive. In the alternative to the above, another striking out paragraphs prayers A, B, C, and D of the petition and sought paragraph 150 for being incongruous, contradictory, and self-defeatist. The grounds of the petition were stated there, and we said them out. Yes. Second respondent also filed a similar preliminary objection application for preliminary objection. In striking out the petition or portions of it, single prayer on the application is 1 is an order of the court striking out jointly or severally paragraphs 14 and 15, 19 to 81, 87 to 104, 108 to 128, and 133 to 150 of the petition for being fundamentally defective. Third respondent on the part in his first application of the same issue filed it's got similar prayers like first and second respondents. All 3 respondents also had issues with replies petitioners served on them in response to their own replies. Their main complaint this time is that the said replies went beyond the ambit of replies and raised new issues and facts like particulars of non-qualification of second respondent for the election and his dual citizenship of the Republic of Guinea, all of which, according to the reply of the petitioners, acts on his qualification as a candidate for the election. Those new facts of complaint tended to amend or reconstruct the petition and so overreach them, even as it did not have any further opportunity to join the petitioners on them. Other paragraphs of the replies, they said, did not raise new issues but merely repeated averments already contained in the petition, and so have no place in the reply. For this same reason, they sought striking out the additional statements, witness statements on oath, and list of documents that accompany the said replies. Besides the above, second respondent had a third application that was peculiar to it. In the said application, which was also filed on the 13th of May 2023, second respondent again sought the striking out of the entire petition, this time on the following 4 grounds. The entire petition constitutes a gross abuse of the process of court by receipt of an originating summons suit number SEC 354/2023, filed by the Attorneys General of Adamawa, Akwa Ibom, Delta, Edo, and Sokoto states. All of them controlled by second
as he called them, as second respondent put it, at the Supreme Court of Nigeria against the Attorney General of the Federation, where the said plaintiffs raised against the Attorney General of the Federation the same issue he also. First respondent's failure to transfer or transmit only unit results from his as to his result being put on IREC 25th February 2023 general elections. The plaintiff there, the first respondent mentioned, sought in their suit declarations that the 2023
elections were fundamentally record as so invalid, null and of no effect, which is what petitioners also seek here. So this petition constitutes a process. There were other grounds for that application, as I shall show later when considering it. All 7 applications were supported with affidavits and written submissions of applicants, which were in turn countered by the petitioners' counter affidavits and written submissions of their own. I shall now proceed to consider the merits of the applications. For use of reference, I shall group the 3 sets of applications into groups A, B, and C.
I start with the first 3 applications of respondent that attacked the validity of the petition, and why its paragraph to be explained the grounds on which it was sought. First respondent's first application, that is the one filed on 9th of April, start with that one. First respondent set out the following issues for determination in this 9th April 2023 application. Set them out. It argues its issues 1 and 3, you get it, so there's no point arguing the time is going. It argues its issues 1 and 2 above separately and took issues 3 and 4 together. In seeking the striking out of paragraphs 9, 2, 3, 93, all set out there, of the petition on grounds of their vagueness, imprecision, and lack of specific eliciting reply from it. First respondent, that is ID.
Principally on paragraph 4.1, sub 1 of the first schedule to the electoral act, which states as follows. It says, an election petition under the act shall state clearly the facts of the election petition and the grounds on which the petition is based, and the beliefs sought by the petitioners. Relying on Ubu and Ararume and the number of cases all set out there, Council of First Respondents will have argued that paragraph 4.1, said paragraph 4.1, first schedule of the electoral act implies compulsion and makes it mandatory for petitioners to speak the facts of their petition. They submitted that an election petition that is vague, precise, omnibus, nebulous, or generic is contrary to the provisions of paragraph 4.1 of the electoral act and so liable to be struck out. Let Council then carefully to on each of the said paragraphs and advance reasons why they are vague, generic as a complaint. Council also argued that the petitioners in paragraphs 1, 29 and 132 of their petition made allegations of unlawful acts allegedly carried out by one Honorable Friday Adejo, Governor Yaya Bello of Kogi State, and some unnamed persons because of the presidential election. Yet those persons were not joined to the petition, so those 2 paragraphs are also liable to be struck out. Council cited Bambe and Adetunji, Olori Ode vs. Oyebi, and Babatola and Adejono to say the court lacked jurisdiction to enter judgment or make orders against persons that are not before it. Responding to the first link of first respondents' contention that the said paragraphs of the petition are vague and imprecise, the senior counsel of the petitioners argued that the said paragraphs were pleaded in support of the second ground of the petition alleging that the presidential election was bedeviled by corrupt practices. Prime among those practices, they said that suppression of votes, manipulation of beavers' machines, and destruction of electoral materials and ballot boxes. Specific instances of these corrupt practices that took place in various states and local governments, they argued, were laid bare in the petition with particulars of the allegation. They argued that first respondent, instead of considering the paragraphs of the petition holistically, seems to have considered them in isolation and apparently hence its wrong conclusion that the petition was vague, imprecise, and without necessary further particulars. While admitting that the names of polling units were not specifically stated in the petition, petitioners' counsel submitted that petitioners stated in different paragraphs of the petition that the polling units affected were to be contained in the statistician's report to be relied upon at the hearing of the petition. They cited the cases of Oluwedu Ajayi, Awolaja, and others, as Ositrate and East Horizon Gas Limited versus Afiok and others. To submit that petitioners are by that pleading incorporated by reference to said statistician's report. On the argument of the first respondent that the petition did not disclose any reasonable cause of action and so considered abuse of process, petitioners counsel argued that first respondent was by that argument legalizing matters of high constitutional importance raised by petitioners in the petition. He submitted that the petition that touches on correct interpretation of section 133(2)b of the Constitution of this country vis-à-vis the return of second respondent and the qualification or disqualification of second respondent, regulated solely by sections 131 and 137 of the Constitution, cannot by any means set to disclose no reasonable cause of action. On first respondent's contention that petitioners failure to join Honorable Adejo and Governor Yaya Bello and unnamed thugs against whom they made allegations of criminal misconduct in paragraphs 129 and 112 of their petition, made those paragraphs of the petition incompetent and liable to be struck out. Also to the petitioner submitted as section 132 of the electoral act has specified the petitioners who may join
that Honorable Friday Adejo and Governor Yaya Bello have not participated in the election or return. petitioners are not in violation of the Electoral Act or any rule of law in not joining them. Besides, they also argued, no relief was claimed against the said two men, so they cannot be held, so they cannot be said to be affected in any way by the eventual outcome of the petition. Now this will be resolved. My Lord, to resolve. Now, paragraph 4.1 of the first schedule of the Electoral Act, as amended, states thus: 2020 states thus: an election petition under this Act shall state clearly the facts of the petition, and the grounds on which the petition is based and relief sought by the petitioners. This provision is so clear and direct that it does not require any agency in the petition. It simply restates in mandatory terms the person of pleading that claimant, in this case a petitioner, shall state clearly, quote unquote, the facts of the
petition, and quote again, and the grounds on which the petition or claim is brought. This requirement / duty to plead one's complaints and facts clearly in the statement of claim / petition, not reply, is a basic rule of pleading even in ordinary civil proceedings. Nneka in GS in Atonda versus Ajani put that point across most forcefully when he said that, and I quote, he said, "It appears to me that rule which requires every fact, upon which a party tends to rely at the hearing of pleading, at the hearing to be pleaded, goes to the fundamentals of justice. For no one can defend the unknown. If one has to defend or counter a fact made by his adversary, the one must have due notice of that fact to enable him to prepare for a defense. That is the very essence of pleading. As it goes to the very root of the rule of audi alteram partem, one of three pillars of justice, it would be misconception to describe it as mere technicality or regularity. It's a matter which cannot be waived. Indeed, by a long line of decided cases, it has been long settled that any evidence on the fact that ought to have
but it's not. It goes to no issue at all at trial and not to disregard the end quote. Now, the complaint of first respondent is that the petitioners in their petition did not state their case as clearly as required by Section 4.1d of the Electoral Act 2002. It complains that petitioners' complaints were vaguely precise and lacking in particulars. It does not appear to me that this complaint can by any means be waved away as idle. If anything, even the petitioners seem to have admitted that they did not plead those necessary facts. But their response to that contention, as shown earlier, is that they pleaded the statistician's report,
which contains the required details of the polling units where the corrupt practices they alleged took place. Incidentally, the said report, a very voluminous four-part document, the later tendered through his maker, Mr. Samuel Luton, PW1 during the trial, shows on his face that it did not even exist at the time they filed their petition, and so was not signed on respondents along with the petition to enable them exercise their constitutionally guaranteed right of responding fairly to the corrupt practices, quote unquote, alleged particularized with, and if necessary, also engage their own expert to reply to it. Yes, the principle of incorporation, by reference relied on by them, that is petitioners, is part of our adjectival law.
Supported by a fairly long line of cases, including MMA versus NMA, Ekbemupolo versus Judgement and others, JFS Investment versus Brawaline Limited, Elo versus Idaosa, Abode Brothers Limited versus Niger Construction Company Limited and another. But that principle cannot by any means override fair hearing trial provisions of Section 36 of 1999 which also gives rationale for exchange of pleadings by parties. See once again the victim of Nanaka and Atonda, which I already quoted. A statistician's report that is supposed to contain missing particulars in the petition, but which was only filed in the middle of hearing of the same petition, long after the time for exchange of pleadings had closed and even after petitioners had called as many
witnesses in proof of their case as happened in this case, cannot serve that purpose about audi alteram partem, let the other party or to be heard too. In short, the tactics employed by the petitioners in this case are regards their pleadings, and the petitioners and the statisticians report referred in it to say it is most unfair and definitely negates the current practice regime that emphasizes front-loading of processes. Such dishonorable practice can only be likened to the unlawful boxing tactic of beating one's opponent below the belt or from behind, which in the sport of boxing is penalized promptly with deduction of points. It cannot be different here. The said statistician's report, which is exhibits PAH1, PAH2, PAH3, and PAH4, in this proceeding must be and is hereby discountenanced. That conclusion should make the resolution of this issue of imprecision of the petition fairly easy. I shall nevertheless want to exercise caution and still consider the paragraphs of petition attacked by first respondent, but it shall only be as they stand in the petition. In that regard, I am satisfied that paragraph 92 of the petition, where the petitioners allege wrongful calculation of polling unit results in various governments of Sokoto states, lacking in particulars of the particular polling units affected and so by able to be struck out. Paragraphs 93 and 94 of the petition, where petitioners allege that first respondent officials failed to properly fill election forms in Kano State, I think, sufficiently meets the requirements of paragraph 41D of the first schedule to the Electoral Act 2022. Paragraph 95 of the petition, where the petitioners allege that results in unspecified polling units of local government areas of Kogi State were, quote, manipulated through and by the inflation of the second respondent's votes and depletion of the petitioner's votes, end quote, is in my opinion bad for vagueness, not only as the polling units where the alleged manipulation occurred, but also as the actual lawful votes of petitioners and second respondent allegedly depleted and inflated respectively. The need to obtain the exact figures of votes affected by the alleged manipulation becomes even more crucial, in my opinion, when account is taken of paragraph 15 of the first schedule of the Electoral Act, stating that, and I quote, this is what that paragraph 15 says, when the petitioner claims the seat alleging that he had the highest number of valid votes cast at the election, that is which is what the petitioners are doing here, the party defending their election or return shall set out clearly in its reply particulars of the votes, if any, which he objects to, and the reasons for his objection against such votes, showing how he intends to prove at the hearing that the petitioner is not entitled to succeed. Second and third respondents can only properly exercise their right under this provision, requiring them to, quote, give particulars of the votes claimed by the petitioners that they object to and the reasons for the objection against such votes, after petitioners have themselves set out clearly the lawful votes depleted by the manipulation alleged by them. Paragraph 97 of the petition, in my opinion, are matters of proof at the hearing, even more so as the petitioners have stated. In those two paragraphs are the disruption of elections in Adabi and local government areas of Kogi State by agents of second and third respondents. Allegedly was captured in video recording which gave petitioners who plead evidence in proof. Paragraph 98 of the petition, where petitioners allege that elections in 10 polling units were disrupted and there were no results from the said polling units, end quote, is bad for vagueness and specificity, insofar as it does not specify the affected 10 polling units. It is therefore also liable to be struck out. And also of the opinion that paragraphs 99 and 100 of the petition also attacked by
has to do more with proof, which is a matter for substantive hearing, especially as infractions complained of them were again, according to petitioners, captured in the video recording which they promised to apply at the trial. Paragraph 101 of the petition, where the petitioner simply complained of failure of first respondents, officials to properly fill election material, seems to me sufficient pleading. Paragraph 102 of the petition, where the petitioner simply alleged that the infractions occurred in polling units unidentified in various local government areas of Kogi State and
what these failures enabled results of the polling units in the said LGAs to be manipulated through and by the depletion of second respondent votes, and the depletion of petitioner votes is bad and vague as to particulars of specific polling units and votes of petitioners and respondents affected by said manipulation of inflation and deflation. It fails to meet both the requirements of clear pleading of acts of the petition and paragraph 15 of the
schedule of the Electoral Act aforesaid. In fact, the following dictum of the judgment of the IGSC in Belgora and Ahmed clearly should say so, but we have already produced all these things in CA03 will not intend to it in any case to get that received. See also PDP versus INEC. For the same reasons, I am also of the opinion that paragraph 103 of the petition, where the petitioner simply abided that, quote, first respondent wrongly entered into
results for the petitioners in Borno State is bad insofar as the polling units in Borno State affected by the incorrect results are not stated. I am however of the view that paragraphs 104, 105, and 106 of the petition sufficiently play necessary as to elicit appropriate response from respondents, even more so as paragraphs 104 mainly alleged bypass by first respondents of legal questions. The presidential election in Benin.
Why paragraphs 105 and 106 simply stated the petitioner's ground that second respondent was not elected by majority of lawful votes. In respect of paragraph 104 of the petition, first respondent complains that petitioners then contended that the entire results of the presidential election were wrong. Yet they did not put the results they perceived to be correct, so it is
I am of the view that that complaint is better considered while considering the merits.
That is even more so as it appears to us that paragraph 104 seems advised by petitioners to meet the provisions of paragraph 41, 4 sub 1, C of the first schedule to the electoral act that declares them to state in their petition, among others, the scores of the candidates in the election. To that extent, paragraph 104 cannot be faulted by application at this stage, let alone sought to be struck out in limine. Paragraph 105, 109, 110, 11, 12, and 113 of the petition merely pleaded facts as well as
for the two bars. First respondent's own show did not pull up to 25 of the total votes of federal capital territory. Was properly returned by first respondent having regards to the provisions of section 134B of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and other relevant statutes. Therefore, recorded. I am afraid paragraph 114 of the petition 115 and 116, and paragraph 4 where they said purported results from 6,480 polling units have and indicate zero accreditation. And paragraph 118 where they have that critically, paragraph 118 and 119 are all part for lack of particulars of necessary facts. As
petitions report again referenced by them for the said particulars, I hereby confirm my earlier finding and conclusion of it. Paragraph 120 of the petition is not challenged by first respondents, so I shall overlook it, at least for now. The petitioners in paragraph 121 of the petition allege that first respondents could presiding officers of polling units fail to properly fill and countersign alterations in election forms, including forms E, C, A, P, and blah blah blah, but they did not mention the polling units, what local government and state said infractions took place. They simply reference the same statisticians.
this paragraph is bad for every position and so also by to be struck out. Paragraph 122 to 125 of the petition are not challenged by the respondents, so I shall skip them. In paragraph 126 of the petitioners complained that all over Nigeria, there were manifest cases of overvoting. The total of the affected polling units in the various states are set out in the statistician's report, pleaded and relied upon by the petitioners. This pleading is also, this pleading is also bad for vagueness. My earlier position of the statistician's report, referenced by the petitioners, is also reaffirmed. Paragraph 127 and 128 of the petition are not challenged by first respondents, so they are also skipped. I do not share the view of first respondent that paragraphs 129, 130, that's INEC, that paragraphs 129, 130, 131, and 132 of the petition are bad for lack of opposition. Petitioners in those paragraphs carefully pleaded the specific polling units and numbers of votes therein that they claim were affected by the cancellation of elections complained by them. I am, however, of the opinion that the second complaint of first respondent against paragraph 129 of the petition that is also deserved to be
petitioner's failure to join Honorable Adejo, chairman of Kondoma Borono government of Kogi State, accused by them of having led talks at gunpoint to force electoral officers in the polling units of Kondoma Borono government to declare concluded elections in that said units cancelled is well made. The petitioner's response that not only was no leave claimed by them against Honorable Adejo, he did not even participate in the election, neither was he returned, so it's not a person contemplated by 71 of the Electoral Act to be joined on election petition. It's not a valid response. Section 133 of the Electoral Act only deals with the issue of which contestant of an election ought to be joined in the election petition by a co-contestant. It has nothing to do with the issue of joining of third parties against whom allegations of electoral infraction are made by practitioners as in this case. Such petitions must be joined in the petition if the court is not to be exposed to the risk of infringing their fundamental rights.
Guaranteed by the Constitution. It is also of no moment that no belief was claimed against such persons in the petition. What is important is that allegations of electoral malpractice, which will require the court to make findings, including condemnation of the alleged conduct, where necessary, are made in the petition. Support for that position can be found in 1 and Yaradua, where Muntaka Kumasi GS, after reproducing the provisions of the then newly enacted section 1441.
Of the Electoral Act, which is now section 133 of the Electoral Act 2020, and confirming that provision had drawn away with the whole regime of the Electoral Act that required petitioners to join all relevant electoral officers for finding that conducted and impeded elections. In addition to INEC, said, this is what his lordship said, unless the conduct of a petitioner who is not an agent, the conduct of a party who is not an agent of the commission it will then be necessary to join such party as a necessary party to the petition in order to afford such party endpoint. As regards the consequence of failure to join such necessary parties of the petition itself, his lordship Kumasi again said as follows. However, when such a party is not made a party, it will not result
in the whole petition being struck out. But the particular allegation against such party is liable to be struck out. End quote. That is the fate of paragraph 129 of the petition, where allegations of electoral malpractice were made by the petitioners against Honorable Adejo, yet he was not cited in the petition. Incidentally, this is also one of the main reasons the Supreme Court gave in dismissing the appeal of the petitioners. In the Ondo State governorship case of Eita Yotegede and another versus INEC, where allegations were made by the petitioners in that case against the then National Caretaker Committee chairman of the present respondent APC, Governor May Malapuni of Yobe State, yet he was not joined to the petition by the petitioners. Paragraph 129 of the petition was therefore surpassed, striking out. For the same reason, paragraph 133 of the petition, where similar allegations of an alleged gun-toting Governor Yahya Bello of Kogi State, leading talks to compel cancellation of concluded elections. The police 35 and 136 of the petition were not, yet Peter Obi of Labour Party and Rabi Musa Kokwanso were not joined to the petition, so those paragraphs were also barred and liable to be struck out. I consider this argument misconceived. In fact, it seems to overlook section 134 sub 4 of the 1999 Constitution, stating expressly that, and I quote, "For the purposes of an election to the office of president, the whole of the federation shall be regarded as one constituency." End quote. That is the position as it relates to the presidential election. Percentages of votes polled by presidential candidates in any of the Texas state or the federation or even federal capital territory only become of consequence when the issue verges on whether the candidate return also satisfy the provisions of section 131B and 2 of 1999 Constitution, as amended, requiring him to hold 25% of votes cast in at least two-thirds of the Texas states and the federal capital territory. Outside of that, how many votes a presidential candidate hold in any of the states of the country is of little significance in an election petition challenging return in a multi-party presidential election. It certainly has no bearing on the question of who an aggrieved party challenging a presidential election return should join this petition among the candidates that contended the election within. By section 133 of the Electoral Act, only other candidate in the election the petitioner can properly join this petition. The person returned as the winner of the election. See further of these cases of Buhari and another versus Yusuf versus Obasanjo and 50 others, Obasanjo and Yusuf versus others. See particularly Buhari and another versus Yusuf, where it was said by, and I quote, by the Supreme Court, where it was said that, and I quote, "An unsuccessful candidate in an election cannot be
an election petition against his will effort." We also do not agree first responded that paragraphs 141, 41, and 142 of the petition were vague and precise. I do not, sorry.
And vague as it is no. That is fair hearing. That requirement of the law does not permit parties to keep their cards face down, as petitioners did in paragraph 146 of their petition, when they simply avowed generally that second respondent was not qualified to contest the
presidential election, without revealing in what form he was not qualified or disqualified for the election. That paragraph of the petition falls far short of the requirements of paragraph 4.1b of the First Schedule of the Electoral Act, and so liable to be and must be struck out. Conclusion on issue 1 of first respondent, the subtotal of all the foregoing is that while paragraphs 129 and 133 of the petition are liable to be struck out for non-joiner, to which Mrs. Adejo and Governor Yahya Bello of Kogi State agrees the petition of committing electoral malpractices. Paragraphs 92, 95, 98, 11, 121, 126, 129, 130,
143, 144, and 146 are vague, imprecise, and lack particulars, and so fall short of the requirements of paragraph 4.1b. They are all therefore ordered struck out. Paragraphs 93, 94, 96, 97, 99, 100, 101, 102, 104, 105, 108, 109, 100, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 16, 118, 19, 120, 122, 125, 130, 134, 138, 139, 140. On the other hand, I order and properly repeated. Now, issue 2 of first respondent in this same application reads whether having regard to the mandatory provisions of paragraph 4.1b of the First Schedule of the Electoral Act, the reasonable course of action has been disclosed in respect of grounds of the petition contained in paragraph 16a, C and D of the petition to warrant further or any adjudication on same. Counsel on behalf of first respondent this time anchored the arguments principally on the grounds on which petitioners founded their petition. Counsel reproduced paragraph 16AB and C of the petition where the petitioners alleged and you said them out. The next reference, section 134 of the electoral law, stating that the election may be questioned on, among others, that the election was invalid by reason of corrupt practices, and argued that this provision, that is section 134, has a provision in section 135. So the fact that an election shall not be liable to be invalidated by reason of non-compliance with provisions of the Act, if it appears the election tribunal report that the election was conducted substantially in compliance with the principles of the Act and non-compliance with that substantially affect the result of the election. Relying on the cases of Atiku and Yaradua and Yusuf as a judge, Delegate submitted that for petitioners to sustain their ground of corrupt practice and non-compliance for the election with the provisions of the Act, they are required to not only plead the fact of non-compliance, but further assert positively the petition and prove that the non-compliance and corrupt practice complaint of substantially affected the result of the election. To properly do that, they argued petitioners must plead and show how many votes were affected by the irregularities and that the deduction of such votes would void in terms of second respondent as the winner of the election. He said not only the petition has not asserted their petition that non-compliance of complaint of substantially affected the election, they did not also plead the votes or polling units affected by non-compliance and enable this court form an opinion on that non-compliance and corrupt practice complaint of substantially affected result, or that second respondent poll majority of not post the election and so what should be returned.
Without those rights in the petition, the petitioners now submitted have simply blown quote-unquote muted trumpets and their petition lifeless and failed to disclose a substantial cause of action, so it is liable to be dismissed. Resolution of issue 2. This issue does not, in my view, deserve any serious consideration. The reason being that petitioners expressly stated in paragraph 17 of their petition that, quote, the petitioners are aware that the election was not conducted in accordance with the provisions of the Electoral Act and other relevant laws, and that the non-compliance substantially affected the result of the election. In that the second respondent ought not to have been declared and returned as the winner of the election. That sufficiently answers the question of first respondent. Issues 2 and 3 and 4, first respondent first and the application. Also the first respondent, issues 3 and 4, which they also argue together, basically rely on their contentions in issue 2 of the lifelessness of the petition to submit that the petition as by reason of the alleged submission of the petition identified above had become academic and considered abuse of process of course, so this court is wrong on the petition. Entertain it. This combined issue is founded on issue 2, and since issue 2 has been determined against first and so are hereby resolved against first respondent. Now I go to second respondent similar application seeking dismissal of paragraphs 14 and 15, 19 to each one. For this application, let us second respondent simply said that the sole issue for examination. Thus, it was that in view of the provision of paragraphs 14(1) of the first scheduled to be relevant electoral act or relevant judicial decisions, whether paragraphs 14
and 15, 19 to 81, 87 to 104. And 108 of the petition are not liable to be struck out. We set out the arguments, both of them. We said in the course of determining first respondent's application on the same issue of vagueness and precision in the complaint, I dwelt extensively on the rationale for exchange of pleadings, generally and particularly in election particulars as further set out by the lawmaker. I hereby adopt all those pronouncements. Same exercise, I also consider that pronounced for the same complaints of vagueness, lack of particulars, generic and imprecision. Of the complaints of the petitions, paragraphs 92 to 1% of the petition, also made by the second respondent here, I then determined, said, I abide by those findings. I shall therefore simply focus on paragraphs 14 to 19, 1.7 to 150. And the few paragraphs between paragraphs 92 to 1% of the petition, written by the first respondent, determined complaints of second respondent. Of whether petitioners' complaints in those paragraphs were vague, precise, and vague. I now started the exercise. Without referring to what I said earlier, which I hereby confirm on the invalidity of this.
The report relied on by the petitioners or particulars of their values in petition. I am of the opinion that paragraphs 14 to 15 of the petition, where the petitioners specifically complain only about correctness of the contents of violent forms, are so clear as the issue is and so not vague. Paragraph 16 of the petition are not attacked by first respondent and so are also skipped. We also do not find paragraph 20 to 20 of the petition where the vague. We do not also find paragraphs 20 to 20 of the petition where the petitioners complain that first respondent did not keep to his earlier promise of electronic transmission of election results to the IREF portal in real time when it returned this to vague. We however find vague, imprecise, and falling far short of the requirements. I however find vague, imprecise, and falling far short of the requirements of paragraph
4.1g and 15 of the schedule of the electoral act 2022, the amendments in paragraph 22 of the petition, where the petitioners complain as a result of the election as announced by INEC does not represent lawful votes, and that lawful votes cast for them were massively deducted from their scores. Those paragraphs ought to contain the lawful votes of the petitioners that were alleged vote massively deducted as well as those alleged to have been repeated to second respondent by INEC. We find properly and sufficiently clear paragraphs 24 down to 27 of the petition. We however find vague, precise, and lacking particulars paragraphs 80 to 26 of the petition, where the complainants complain that permanent voters cards collected the unique results where elections were collected. All did not rule across bodies above 1,000, is above 1,810,260, which is the margin of lead between first petition and second respondent. Consequently, the turn of second respondent was immature and wrongful. This pleading not to contain the precise number of permanent voters as alleged collected, only units which by petitioner's contention would have closed the margin of lead between first petition and second respondent to make the latter's return unlawful. Without that information, the complaint is difficult to understand and respond properly to, let alone resolve. Paragraphs 87 to 90 where the petitioners complain of corrupt practices in the election, which practices they complain to differ among others of manipulation by second respondent through deliberate suppression and discounting of votes, is vague insofar as the polling units when said corrupt practices took place are not stated. Paragraphs 92 to 97 of petition, less paragraphs 135 and 36, also complained of by second respondent as vague, imprecise, and generic have been dealt with by us while considering first respondent's petition on the same issue. We have adopt our findings in that application, resolving the complaints of second respondent in this application. As for paragraphs 135 and 137 of the petition, we have reviewed that paragraph 135 where petitioners complain of manipulation of election in Lagos State by first respondent, resulting in depletion of their votes and inflation of second respondents, which is vague in the absence of pleading of the number of votes so depleted and inflated. In respect of paragraph 136 of the petition, even the petitioners again complained, even the petitioners again complained that the votes returned by the first respondent for Obi Akwa and Portable Local Government of Rivers did not reflect the actual votes. Did not express the actual votes scored in the said local government areas, or even those updated to IREF by INEC, and so liable to be voided. No correct quote-unquote figures of the actual votes cast as reflected in the IREF were pleaded. So it is also bad for vagueness and imprecision and therefore liable to be struck out. Some total of the foregoing are complaints of vagueness, imprecision, and generateness of environments, all by second respondent against petitioner, only laid out as regards paragraphs 23, 82 to 86, 9 to 91, 92, 95, 98, 121, 124, 126, 129, 133, 135, 136, 147, 124, and 146 of the petition. Accordingly, those paragraphs are hereby struck out, while the remaining paragraphs of the petition are deemed in order and pass the vagueness test of paragraph 4.1g of the first schedule of the Electoral Act. Now, since the said paragraphs of the petition, part for vagueness and liable to be struck out, we are not unmindful of the argument of petitioners that second respondent's remedy lies in an application for further particulars and not striking out. We are, however, of the petition that application for particulars is only one of several options open to second respondent, who in any case is not under any obligation to help petitioners make out their case against by asking for particulars of their generic and nebulous complaints. That is also the point that was made by Fabi EGS in PDP vs. INEC, when his lordship said that page 524, that, and I quote, the application for another for further particulars for the like is merely a shield in the hand of a party who desires, and not a sword to be used by a party whose pleading is grossly inadequate, insufficient, or devoid of necessary particulars. Decision in allowing Professor Saraki cited by delegates on both sides is in point. It is not the duty of a respondent to groom a petitioner on how to draft this petition. End quote. It is also quite revealing, if not even reassuring, that this argument of the petitioners of duty of second respondent to ask for further particulars was as their main argument in their petition, rather than asking for striking out the particulars, was also rejected by Muntaka GS while delivering judgment in PDP vs. INEC in 2012. Even as the same argument had found favor with Lordship, that's Muntaka, 2 years earlier in his contribution in one versus Yaradua. His lordship in the latter case of PDP versus INEC endorsed the stand of trial tribunal in that case that paragraph 12 sub 5 of the first schedule to the Electoral Act, same as paragraph 12.5 of the present Electoral Act, permitting respondents to apply to strike out a petition did not exist in 2000 Electoral Act. It was at the time when Yaradua was decided, and that made all the difference. Regarding the further argument of second respondent, petitioners complained that first respondent did not observe his own promises to transmit election results to either portal in real time was caught and made comatose by Section 134 of the Electoral Act stating Electoral Act. We think it is, I think it is neater and even safer to defy to the main argument for determination of the merits, especially since that contention is also one of the main complaints of the petitioners in the petition itself. That is what case law decides. Advice, see again one citation. That respondent's application of the same issue of vagueness of paragraphs. Sound application, that is the third respondent this time. That in this own application of 8 May, third respondent like the first and second respondents also been to strike out all of paragraph 17 to 1 constitution of the petition on the same grounds of vagueness, imposition, blah blah blah, and failure to join the Sandejo and Governor Yaya Bed of Congo State against whom allegations of electoral infraction were made. Additionally, it's also complained that petitioners have amendments in paragraphs 19 stated them and 45 petitioner all pre-election matters which occurred after the petition and outside the petition of this constituting as an election petition. Again, the petitioners argue in response that their complaints were properly pleaded in the petition and so not to precise nor pre-election matters as alleged by third respondent resolution. Since the application of third respondents based on the same paragraph in the petition objected to by first and third respondents, over which we have already made findings, we abide by and adopt those findings to determine the application of third respondent. Further on, the petitioners have amended paragraphs 19, 20, 21, 35, 41, 42, and 45 of the petition are not pre-election matters. In fact, whereas issues of the assurance given by INEC of real-time transmission of results to INEC raised by petitioners paragraphs 19 and 20 of the petition, how the elections were generally funded by the federal government of Nigeria on account of those assurances as averred, and how first respondent transferred the in-house experts from one department to another before the election as alleged in paragraph 35 of the petition cannot by any means give rise to a cause of action, let alone a reasonable cause of action. In petitioners, the amendments in paragraph 42, 43, and 45 of the petition are simply noticed by the petitioners to subpoena witnesses, testify about first respondents' omissions and commissions to conduct of the election, and so cannot by any means describe as causes of election, let alone election matters for which they have commenced action as alleged. In conclusion, the applications of first, second, and third respondents succeed only partly, and the following orders are made on them. Paragraph 23, 82 to 89, 88 to 91, paragraph 95, 95, 98, 121, 124, 126, 129, 133, 135, 136, 143, 144, and 146 are hereby struck out as break. The remaining paragraphs of the petition attempt to pass the vagueness test and paragraph 41D of the first end of the Electoral Act 2022 and are hereby obeyed. That leaves us with the standing application of third respondent also filed on 8th of May 2023 as well as the 3 applications of third respondents, all objected to petitioner's replies to their petition. Second respondents will take that one. We try to produce the arguments there. We said, and then we went on to say that the thrust of the response of petitioner's counsel, that is not mine. Thrust of the petitioner's counsel is a suit number SCB 351 that was not filed by the petitioners. So this petition, sorry. 544. Said now it is set position of law that once a court is satisfied that a proceeding before it amounts to abuse of process, it has the right and indeed duty to invoke its coercive powers to punish the party in abuse. Quite often that power is exercised by dismissal of action that constitutes abuse of process. But more issue only consideration can only get a negative response. For the government of the state, regardless of the political party platform on which its executive governor is or was elected, represents all shades of opinion in the state, including even those who may not belong to any political party at all. In fact, the state government is not even bound or obliged to take instructions from the political party of the governor. Interestingly, our law reports are replete with cases where state governments elected on the same party platform with the federal government have repeatedly sued the federal government at the Supreme Court. A good example is this. Okay. A good example is recent new currency case. The new currency case that was instituted by the Attorneys General of Kogi, Kaduna, and Zamfara states against federal government, even as both parties were APC governments. In that situation, one wonders where counsel would place proposition of privity by affinity. There are other cases, we cited them. We'll go on and on. Short will reject this argument of second respondent of abuse of judicial process on account of litigation commenced by state governments against the Attorney General of the Federation. That is, as we also take note of the notice of discontinuance of case declared suit number SCCB 354/2023 filed by the plaintiff in that case since the 3rd of March 2023, which notice was tendered by the petitioners in this court as SPPB because of the hearing of the main notice on the 6th of June 2023. This court is obligated by section 1221M of the Evidence Certificate Judicial Proceedings. The other argument of note of second respondent in this application is the one of failure of petitioners to again join Friday Adejo and Yahya on the petition. We have already struck out the relevant paragraphs of the petition where allegations of malpractice were made against two gentlemen. We abide by this like that decision. Just simply add that we do not agree with second respondent's argument that the entire petition merits dismissal for non-joinder of those two men. Proper sanction is the circumstance of this case, as we have already pointed out, citing one point and the other. So strike out the paragraphs of the petition where those allegations were made. That order will also further to the argument of second respondent. Will not affect the paragraphs where allegations were made against unnamed thugs. Unnamed persons cannot be joined to an election petition like it is sometimes done in trespass cases. Still, Obasa and Yusuf, where a similar argument was rejected out of hand by Kutigi and Pastor Chairman of JS. Thus, it was said there that he said, quote, it is impossible to drag unknown thugs, police, and hordes of others to court and join them. That is there, end quote. So the next one will now go to the challenges, the replies filed with the petitioners. All the respondents also challenge the validity of the replies and the accompanying witness statements of both and list of documents petitioners served on them in response to their replies. Their common complaint in those petitions is that the said replies or paragraphs that offend paragraph 16 of the first schedule of the electoral acts governing filing of replies by the petitioner, and so liable to struck out. First respondent's objection was against the reply of first petitioner that was served on it. They are sought striking out of paragraphs 1.1, 21, 23, and 21. Petitioner's reply striking out the further witness statement on both of DM, who later revealed himself in the information as Senator Tinubu and PDPC both deposed on 20th April, striking out the petitioner's list of additional documents dated 20th day of April, which accompanied it. Thrust of the argument, his counsel founded principally and replied to produce the arguments and reproduce the reply. To start with, I am not persuaded by the petitioner's argument that the new facts or issues raised by them in their impugned reply relate to non-qualification, which is one of the arguments, and not the conduct of the election by first respondent. So second respondent who is supposed to be first respondent, that is INEC, who is supposed to be neutral in that matter, cannot be required to be objecting to them. The issue raised by first respondent, that is INEC, actually relates to the competence of the major process before the court to which the reply filed by petitioners. It is an issue which counts to first respondent as ministers in the temple of justice, and even first respondent itself as a party to the petition. I have a duty to bring to the attention of the court. That obligation even becomes more pronounced when it is realized that the substantial number of first respondents are members of the inner bar who even have greater responsibilities to the court by virtue of their ranking. Preliminary objection like that. This preliminary objection, like the argument of petitioners, is therefore rejected. Coming out to the merits of the application, it is common ground that the Provisions of the electoral act most relevant to the resolution is paragraph 16 of the first schedule. We try to reproduce it. This provision, the employment of the word shall forbids the addition of new facts, especially if such new facts may have the effect of tending to amend or even just adding to the context of this petition. Cited cases, I think we have spoken on it in the 03. Incidentally, this paragraph also refers in the case of this thing, only the state of well-settled position of adjective and whether the claim of grievance are made in the statement of claim or petition as the case may be, and not in its reply to the statement of claim to that claim, statement of defense to that claim. That position also finds expression in Olugodu and Lawal, cited what the Supreme Court said there. They said the plaintiff must not reply make any allegation of fact or reason any ground of claim, different from what is contained in the statement of claim. If a plaintiff does such a plea is irrefutably bad, and no evidence will be admissible in his complaint. That settled position of law is that except in some well-defined situations, a reply to a statement of defense is not even permitted where no counterclaim is served. This is so because there is an implied joint of issues on any factors in the statement of defense, and any environment contained therein is deemed denied is cited. As to what will amount to new issue cited in against member, as opposed to the earlier cited in Bill number 03. Guided by all these and paragraph 16(1) of the first schedule, does not by any means appear to me that the new facts of conviction, fine, forgery, and dual citizenship of second respondent introduced by petitioners to reply. The additional environments of our results should not have been uploaded to INEC after the 25th of February, and see whether it was done at all and relevant officials of INEC could not have been involved in it. Not to talk of the petitions replied by members already made by petitioners in their petition can pass as reply filed pursuant to paragraph 61A of the Special of the Electoral Act, particularly as relates to the further details as are bit, quote and unquote, as petitioners labeled them in their reply, of non-qualification of second respondent contained in paragraph 21B of their reply. It bears reiterating that all that the petitioners referred to in paragraph 146 of the petition is the bare statement that, quote, the petitioners are aware that second respondent was at the time of the election not qualified to contest the election, not having the constitutional threshold, unquote. No details whatsoever was given by them of what they meant by second respondent's non-qualification. No, first respondent, who was obviously satisfied that second respondent was qualified to contest the election by documents he presented to it, also simply joined issues with them in a similar general manner. It is now through their reply that petitioners, who themselves seem to have had no clear idea of what they meant by second respondent's non-qualification for the election, was simply deliberately kept it back when filing their petition, want to now introduce through their reply at a time when respondents have no further right of responding to them. Such unfair tactics cannot and is not allowed by the law. It must be noted too that under section 131 of the Constitution of this country, there are as many as 4 different qualifications the person must possess before he can contest the presidential election, and another 10 different grounds that can qualify such a candidate who has all the 4 qualifications of section 131. Therefore, an assertion that merely says that the person is not qualified to contest the election by reason of non-qualification will leave not just the person so assailed, but every other person in the world, including the court, at a loss as to what the pleader has in mind. In fact, to allow such pleading will amount to upsetting the very essence of filing pleadings in a case, which is to give the adversary and the court a clear notice of the pleader's case. The point for that fortified in paragraph 61A of the first schedule to the Electoral Act. Still on this issue, I must not fail to point out that the petitioners were only being clever by half when they claimed in paragraph 21B of their reply that they were simply giving, as they put it, further details, quote and unquote, of the non-qualification of second respondent by a vary to the conviction, fine, certificate, forgery, and dual citizenship of second respondent that they raised in their replies. They have never given any details of second respondent's non-qualification, and so cannot talk about further details, quote and unquote, let alone hide under such further details to smuggle in the new facts. They are about in paragraph 1B of their reply. These new allegations are not also mere, as they call it, evidence in support of their ground of non-qualification, as their counsel also tried to make them out. They are facts which can only be contained in the petition itself, and not in the petitioner's reply to the respondent's defense to the petition. Paragraph 21B and C of the reply where petitioners are about to know upload your polling units results by first respondent, presiding officer of the declaration, we also agree with first respondent. And new issues were at least mere further denials by the petitioners, respondent denials of the petition. Such is not also permitted to reply, see again better than another. versus Ibrahim, Akeredolu versus Akinremi, against him versus Onusu case, Pasco versus Alway, Ishola versus LGP, and both versus CBN. In light of all the foregoing, two witness statements as well as list of documents accompanying that reply, all of which were based on the new facts contained in the impugned paragraphs of the reply, are also incompetent and liable to be struck out. Summary, first respondent's application supplying to base success in its entirety. Accordingly, paragraphs 1, 2, let them object 1, 2, Roman figure 1, Roman figure 2, Roman figure 3, Roman figure 4, Roman figure 5, and 2.1b, 2.1b, c, and d of the petitioner's reply. Find a response to reply first respondent together with two witness statements of note and list of documents which accompany that reply are all hereby struck out. Second respondent's application seeking striking as a self-respondent. Senate counsel also made his arguments. Arguments then become straight to the resolution. And I said here, my Lord said here, that I'm not even in the least persuaded by the argument of the petitioners. That they simply reply to new issues raised by second respondents in reply to their petition. The petitioners, like the DD, their reply to the first respondent, introduce fresh facts and issues of non-qualification of second respondent grounds of his alleged criminal conviction, quality of documents and was that is foul play, which paragraph 16 sub 1a to the first schedule of electoral act expressly forbids. Consequently, paragraphs 1b, 1, Roman figure 7, a, b, c, and Roman figure 8 of part 1, as well as paragraphs 2, 3, Roman figure 1, 2, 3 of part 2 of the reply petition. Second respondent, when petitioners are about to give facts of purported criminal conviction, official proceedings against second respondent affairs to purported veracity or grounds of non-qualification are all hereby struck out. Paragraphs 8, 11, Roman figure 1, 25, 24 of the petition of the rule of the scope of the authority said that considered are also new facts or at best mere denials and so liable to be struck out as they do not qualify as implies. Bearing the above all other paragraphs of the petition filed on the 23rd, petitioners reply filed on the 23rd of July 2023 stand either not objected to or the complaints against them are not made out. Otherwise, the application of second respondent also success partly as stated above. Then respondent's application as dates that now comes to second respondent's application. And we come straight to say that I find necessary to first observe that like all other replies of the petitioners, the impugned reply petitioners of 24 that was served on third respondent is in parts A and B. Part A is devoted solely to the preliminary of the by third respondent is replied to the petition. That part is
not challenged by third respondent, so it shall remain as it is. It is only part B of that reply that is challenged by third respondent. It's also this part that contains in its paragraphs 32 and 33 the fresh facts of second respondents alleged status as ex-convict and having dual citizenship, all of which now insist disqualified him as a candidate for the election. These facts I have already determined can only be raised in the petition and not in their reply. The respondents reply to their petition. They therefore offend paragraph 16a that is stated above. Besides these two paragraphs, every other amendment in paragraph 2 of the reply, that last paragraph 35, as third respondents can rightly pointed out, either mere denials of third respondents reply to the petition, or the petitions of petitioners are amendments in their petition, and so not permissible in the reply as per paragraph 16a, 1a of the first schedule of the Electoral Act in the cited cases. It's also
law, as erroneously agreed by petitioner's counsel, that failure to reply to facts about by third respondent in his reply to the petition would mean admission of those facts. Somehow, counsel like that, always like that, not just this one. Failure to deny environment contained in a statement of defense does not imply admission, like it does with failure to deny environment in a statement of claim. See against him as case, and your largest they are cited to you. Summary, third respondent's application succeeds in its entirety. Consequently, barring paragraph 35, the entire part B of the petitioner's reply of third respondent is incompetent and is hereby struck out. That concludes and settles all 7 applications for preliminary relations and respondents. So that is it. So I now hand over to a leader, as politicians want to call it. So that my Lord can continue. From there.
We'll go to the respondent's objection to document tender at the trial. My learned was by my immediate response.
We want to take on the respondent's objections to documents tendered by petitioners at the trial. In the course of the hearing of this petition, objections were raised by the three respondents. First, to the validity of the witness statements on oath imposed to by some of the witnesses of the petitioners. Specifically, PW.
That is petitioners 12.
Friday. PW 13, that's Grace Timothy. PW 14, Grace Ejabona. PW 15, Abidemi Joseph. PW 16, Ms. Edosa Obasa. PW 17, Ms. Aleri Ayuba. PW 18, Ms. Sadia Mohamed Haruna. PW 21,
Mr. Samuel Guntan, the statistician. PW 23,
PW 24, Christopher Bulus Kado. PW 25, Victoria Sani. PW 26, Hitler Ebuon Mwala, the forensic expert. And PW 27, Mr. Mike Enauro Eba, the legal practitioner. These are those whose witness statements. Witness statements were filed or deposed to long after petition was filed, and so did not accompany the petition as required by paragraph 45B of the first schedule to the Electoral Act 2022, that stating that election petition shall be accompanied by a list of the witnesses that the petitioner intends to call in proof of the petition. This objection was argued comprehensively by counsel to parties. The ruling on it deferred by the court to final judgment. Objections, therefore, were also raised by the respondents to virtually all the documents tendered by the petitioners in proof of their petition. But unlike the earlier objection on witness statements, counsel only gave notice that they would give reasons for those objections in their final addresses. They have since fulfilled their promise by filing separate addresses on those objections. The petitioners, on their part, also objected to some of the documents tendered by the respondents in the course of their defense and gave notice.
they will also give reasons for their objections in an address to be filed at the close of the evidence. They, however, seem to have had a change of mind and have not filed any written submissions as promised. I am therefore left with only the objections of the respondent. And I proceed to consider the said objections of respondents. 1. The validity of witness statements on oath of PWs as petitioners' witnesses in the 12, 13, 14, 15,
17, 18, 21, 23, 24, 25, 26, and 27 that did not accompany the petition as required by paragraph 45B of the first schedule to the Electoral Act 2022. This objection was taken and comprehensively argued by first respondents' counsel on 8th of June 2023, when PW12 is a woman marched on Friday, the presiding officer in the disputed 25th February 2023 presidential election tried to adopt his witness statement of oath, which he deposed only on the 5th, which he deposed to only on 6th of June 2023, long after the petition was filed on 21st March 2023. Subsequently, when the petitioners called their witness numbers 13 to 18, 21, 23 to 27, who also only deposed to their witness statements in the same June 2023.
long after the filing of the petition and even after hearing of the petition had commenced, respondents' counsel again raised and adopted the same objections against those witnesses and their witness statements. As explained earlier, the thrust of the objection, which was championed by Chief Wale Olanipekwesien, the second respondent, was anchored
on paragraph 45B of the first schedule to the Electoral Act 2022, requiring that the election petition shall shall be accompanied by, among others, witness statements of both of the witnesses the petitioner intends to call in proof of the petition. The learned counsel argued that insofar as the witness statements of both of the same witnesses of the petitioners did not accompany the petition of petitioners as required by paragraph 45B and 6, sub 6 and 7 of the first schedule to the Electoral Act, they were incompetent and cannot be relied on by petitioners or the witnesses concerned. It is irrelevant. It's irrelevant to the counsel argued that the same witnesses came to testify on subpoena issued to them by this court as paragraph 45B of the first schedule to the Electoral Act makes no distinction between ordinary witnesses and those who were testifying on subpoena. When that argument was taken, and after hearing the argument, this is our resolution. Now, this contention for the respondent has far-reaching consequences, as its resolution in favor of respondents will result in the court discountenancing the evidence of all the presiding officers, namely BW 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 23, 24, and 25, who were in the polling units in the election and so were eyewitnesses to the alleged failure by INEC to transmit and uphold the election results to IREL, major pillar of the petition. It will also result in discounting
I saw the petitioners that will have supported the evidence
and those testifying only on subpoena as regards the duty to front-load witness disposition
along the petition. So the evidence of BW 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 21, 23, 24, 25, 26, and 27, whose witness statements or notes were not front-loaded with the petition are incompetent. Paragraph 45B of the first schedule to the Electoral Act 2022 reads thus. I want to mention it. It says the election petition shall be accompanied by B, written statements of oaths of witnesses. Clearly, this provision, particularly the word witnesses,
whose written statements of oath the lawmakers require that shall accompany the election petition must be given its literal interpretation. See the recent decision of this court in Ogba and Vincent, and then that of Senator Ararumi and INEC, all citations supply. The unreported decision of this court also of 17th of July 2020 in Advanced Nigeria Democratic Party NDP, Mr. INEC and two others, appeal number EPT 406/2020, and People's Democratic Party versus Okoku citations supply on the issue, where the words of a statute or instrument are clear, like paragraph 45B of first schedule to the Electoral Act is, particularly the unqualified witnesses employed there. The court has no duty than to give it its literal meaning. Now, in advance,
Democratic Party in appeal already cited, who presided over by Justice Igeminkwa, Agim and colleagues, as Agim as he then was unanimous in his decision on the point in issue. JCA pronouncing the leading judgment said, I am of firm view that if
145 from the Electoral Act 2010, paragraph 3, 4, 5, 54 for the first schedule to the Electoral Act 2010 are juxtaposed with other 3 rules 2 and 3 of the Federal High Court Civil Procedure Rules 2019, it is eminently clear that other 3 rules 2 and 3 of the Federal High Court Civil Procedure Rules is outrightly inapplicable to the situation the appellants find itself in this case. Paragraph 3 and 4 of the first schedule to the Electoral Act 2010 contain express and adequate provisions as to what the contents of a petition should be and the documents that must be concluded and accompany an election petition, including a list of witnesses that the petitioner intends to call in proof of the petition, and more importantly, written statements of both witnesses. Well, there is also, it says further, there is no dichotomy between witness statement mentioned in paragraph 4.5 of the first schedule to the Electoral Act in respect of witnesses' statement of oath, witnesses statement of oath of a subpoena witness. There is no distinction between ordinary witness and subpoena witnesses under paragraph 4.5 of first schedule to the Electoral Act. In essence, paragraph 4.5 of first schedule to the Electoral Act covers witness statements on oath of all categories of witnesses the petitioner intends to call at the trial of his or her petition. Quote, in Senator Ifeanyi INEC, this court also signed over by my Lord Samani DCA the concurrence of my brothers Owade and Kimbami, Owaji Yusuf and Bayero DCA, again confirmed this position when in that decision was held. Learned counsel for the appellant has argued that PW2 was before the court of subpoena, therefore the tribunal could not turn around to prevent him from testifying. It is not disputed that the same witness was before the court on subpoena after the candle, but it must be realized that the witness was subpoenaed on the application of the appellant. He was not summoned by the tribunal in the exercise of their powers pursuant to paragraph 41, 5, and 6 of the first schedule to the Electoral Act. Was therefore
intents and purposes witness for the appellant. In that respect, his statement of oath was subject to the requirements of the law as stipulated by paragraph 4.5 of the first schedule. Strict compliance with paragraph 4.5 of the first schedule to the Electoral Act is mandatory. It is of such a nature that there is sanction in subparagraph 6 of paragraph 4. This point was also earlier made in section 03. Also see the decision of PDP and Okabwe and then Oba and Vincent, Idra and Patricia Ete, Aweyemi, Lasun and Aweyemi. All these cases have the citation here and they already referred to in our earlier three. Okay. It is of interest that in all these cases, the earlier decisions of this
Midi Ram versus Patricia Ete and another, and Lasu versus Aweyemi relied on strongly by Mr. Chris Uchi SA, what the petitioners were cited and considered but departed from by this court. Quite remarkably too, in his book, Modern Nigerian Election Petitions and Appeals Law, published in November 2017, which book Chief Chris Uchi SA, the lead counsel for petitioners hearing, wrote a glowing forward to. The learned doctor, Mr. Kleshi Taikoro, Esquire, had this to say at pages 134 to 140 while commenting on this same issue, the extra position of this court nominee Ranete, and then Lasu versus Aweyemi. There, Chibuchi SAN, who is incidentally present here, says, just like a petitioner in an election has 21 days from the date of the result of the petition to file his petition, otherwise such a petition becomes statute bar. There is also a time limit to the period within which a petitioner is to file a deposition or other document not filed along with the petition. Thus, all evidence
in proof of a case must, as a precondition to exercise jurisdiction, be brought within the stipulated time frame. That is to say, 21 days after the declaration of the result. The Supreme Court has consistently, in the long line of cases, insisted on this strict and inelastic
enforcing the electoral laws. Thus, the efficacy of the decision of Omidi Ron versus Ete, see also Lasu and Aweyemi, citations of life, wherein the Court of Appeal held that it would be appropriate to meet the justice of the case for the tribunal to order
filing of witness depositions by subpoena witnesses outside the stipulated time frame has been watered down, in that all evidence required in proof of the case must be brought within stipulated time frame. See the case of Oba and Vincent, where the Court of Appeal against JCA, as it then was in the judgment, held. I think that this court in Obinira and the Supreme Court in Okeamimiko adopted
different approaches in addressing the issue of whether a tribunal or a court can allow a witness deposition or other document not filed along with the petition or not filed within the time allowed for filing the election petition to be filed and used in an election proceeding. Committee's case did not strictly enforce the time limits prescribed in Section 141 of the Electoral Act 2006. The provisions in the first schedule led to prohibiting the introduction of additional facts in the proceeding.
After the period allowed for filing the petition and closing of pleadings, paragraph 1 of Election Tribunal and Court Practice Direction 2006, and the content and form
petition, it held that the purpose of the practice direction is to guide and regulate compliance with and observance of the provisions of the first schedule to the Act and the Federal High Court rules where applicable. This elastic approach of the electoral laws by this court in that case is not in line with the current judicial approach of strict enforcement of electoral laws and the current approach of applying the election tribunal and law practice directions as overriding the rules of court in election cases. In Oke versus Mimiko, the Supreme Court approached the issue in keeping with the current position, the current judicial trend for strictly applying electoral laws and procedural rules and giving them supremacy over rules of court in election cases. The law has laid out strictest juris in Oke and Mimiko is that a witness deposition that is not filed along with the petition within 21 days allowed for filing the petition cannot be filed in the proceedings held thus. If there was evidence which was fundamental to the determination of the petition, that evidence ought to have raised willy-nilly before the tribunal within the time specified by the Electoral Act or any other act. That evidence ought to be regarded as the spinal cord of the petition, even if it was being withheld by any person. There are several ways to go about this before the tribunal. The evidence are very clear on this, and the petitioner ought to have resorted to that procedure. Put this in italics, because they have mentioned it in 03. As earlier said, Chief Bishop TSCM in his forward to that lawyer endorsed this author's position. The more recommended the judges.
The author has ably and remarkably sought to examine the legal framework of electoral legislation within the landscape of judicial decisions emanating from disputes arising from elections in the context of election litigation, from the preparation of the election itself through the pre-trial proceedings, the actual trial, judgment and trial proceedings. This book truly stands out in the midst of several other books in this field. As an avid participant in electoral litigation, I wholeheartedly recommend this book to all, particularly to lawyers, judges, students of electoral laws.
As well as all stakeholders in the development of our constitutional democracy on both, which I hope counsel to his words, not just because they are coming from him, but also because they are correct. Permit me to still say a word or two on petitioners' contention that Order 3 Rules 2 and 3 of the Federal High Court Civil Procedure Rules 2019 permitting parties to file witness deposition of a subpoenaed witness even after commencement of the action applies automatically to election petitions by virtue of paragraph 54 of the first schedule to the Electoral Act 2022. So witnesses' statement is of their witnesses filed by them after hearing of the petition had not commenced were in order. In the first place, paragraph 54 of the first schedule to the Electoral Act simply states, subject to the express provision of this act, practice and procedure of the tribunal or the court in relation to election petitions shall be as nearly as possible similar to the practice and procedure of the Federal High Court in the exercise of its civil jurisdiction, and the civil procedure rules shall apply with such modification
as may be necessary to render
them by stating that even where the Federal High Court rules are considered applicable, they shall only apply with such modifications as may be necessary to render them applicable having regard to the provisions of this Act. But what all that means is that where there is express provision in the Act on a particular situation, such as it clearly is in paragraph 45B of the first schedule to the electoral act 2022 that says the election petition shall be accompanied by written statements of oath of witnesses. The provisions of the Federal High Court Civil Procedure Rules will not apply. Fortunately, there is again high authority in support of this position in the dictum of Muntaka Kumasi DSC in one called the Yaragua, the Supply, where his lordship, after reducing paragraph 50 of the first schedule to the Electoral Act, now paragraph 54, we have this to say. Say from the above, it is crystal clear that the provisions of the Federal High Court rules are subject to the provisions of the first schedule of the Electoral Act 26, and if there is any conflict between them, the provisions of the rules under the Electoral Act will prevail. It is where there is a lacuna in the provision of the rules provided in the Electoral Act 2006 that the provisions of Federal High Court rules will apply. We shall also add that Parliament, as Vice President stated, now that in paragraph 45B of the first schedule that to the Electoral Act, that petitioners shall formulate witness statements of their witnesses along with their petitions. It is not within the province of the court to give that provision a different interpretation. There is also no moment that in the court's opinion, the same literal meaning of paragraph 45B of the first schedule to the Electoral Act 2022 seems harsh, not mean the justice of the case, as has been suggested by the petitioners. As subpoena is only issued to an unwilling witness, so it is not contemplated by paragraph 45B of the first schedule to the Electoral Act 2022 that the witness or subpoena should also repose to a witness statement before the subpoena to compel the attendance served on him by the court. If anything, the argument brings to mind a very strong admonition of the British House of Lords letting MRI in due course skills limited IRS citation supply, where the learned law lord of Scammer in his speech said, but in the field of statute law, the judge must be obedient to the will of the Parliament as expressed in this enactment. In this field, Parliament makes and makes the law. The judge's duty is to interpret and to apply the law, not to change it to meet the judge's idea of what justice requires. Interpretation does, of course, imply in an interpreter a power of choice, where different constructions is possible, but our law requires that the judge chooses the construction which, in his judgment, best meets the legislative purpose of the enactment. If the result is unjust but inevitable, the judge may say so and invite Parliament to consider the provision. But he must not deny the statute. A palatable statute may not be disregarded or rejected merely because it is unpalatable. Only if a just result can be achieved without violating the legislative purpose of the statute may the judge select the construction which best suits the idea of what justice requires in every case. That is the settled position of the law, even in this country. Seeing Domaeba and the Chukwu petition supply, Aromala versus Argo, Dracola, Nigeria, Isama, then Global Excellence, there, summarized aptly, wherein the Lord said, the duty of the court is not to deal with the law as it ought to be, but as it is. Paragraph 45B of the first schedule to the Electoral Act 2022 venture to say further appears to have been inserted by Parliament. The further realization of the sui generis so time-bound nature of the election proceedings, a point further driven home by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Second Alteration Act 2010, which introduced, among others, a new section 285 sub 6 into the 1999 Constitution. That provision states that an election tribunal or court shall deliver its judgment in writing within 180 days from the date of filing of the petition. This time limit for disposal of proceedings must be noted is peculiar to election petition proceedings in our body of laws. It is not found in any other proceeding in the entire body of laws of this country. The It thus imposes on the election court or tribunal a duty to properly utilize its case management hearing session as effectively as possible to carefully plan the future course and particularly its plenary hearing of every petition so as not to fall foul of the maximum 180 days limit. That necessarily includes trimming the number of witnesses where necessary once pleadings are closed in the petition. That is also the point echoed by this court, People's Democratic Party and Chibuzo, Kobo, and others, petition supply, where the colleague said, what is deducible is that witness deposition filed by the witness not listed in the petition cannot be countenanced by the court or tribunal after the expiration of the time prescribed or the filing of the petition. It was stressed also by this court hearing that to allow a petitioner to file an additional witness statement at any stage of the election proceedings will destroy the regulated environment that must exist to ensure that both parties to the petition are expeditiously heard and the petition determined within 180 days from the date of the petition. This court observed that such an indulgence will remove the control of the pace of the proceedings from the control of the Constitution, the electoral act, and the first schedule to the electoral act, and leave it at the whims and caprice of the parties, and open the floodgate for all kinds of abuses of the judicial process. Quote. I think the same point is also deducible from following. The dictum of Toby mentioned similar things in Buhari and INEC. And then Buhari and INEC also say a lot about that, mentioned it earlier. And then by rules of standing decisions, the decision in OK and Mimiko and other decisions of this court is bound not only by decisions of the apex court, but also by its own previous decisions. And these are no issues. Victor, Rosette and ACB is there, and then ITBP Limited and UPN Limited. See the decision of local GSC. Long and short of all the foregoing is an objection with respondents to the witness statements of PW to Ebuma Friday, PW 13, Grace Timothy, PW 14, Grace Agiabrona, PW 15, Abide Joseph, PW 16, Ms. Dosa Obosa, PW 17, Ms. Alevia Ayuba, PW 18, Ms. Sadia Mohamed Aruna, PW 21, Mr. Samuel Odunton, the statistician, PW 23, Janet Noor Turaki, PW 24, Christopher Kulos Ado, PW 25, Victoria Sani, PW 26, Hitler Ewonu Mala, forensic expert, and PW 27, Mr. Mike Enaloe, which did not accompany the petition as required by paragraph 45B. The first schedule to the electoral act is hereby sustained, and the witness statements being incompetent are hereby struck out and expunged from the records of this court. The further consequence of that decision is that, given the provision of paragraph 41 sub 3 of the same first schedule to the electoral act 2022, stating that there shall be no oral examination of the witness during the sentence in chief except to lead witness to adopt his written deposition and tender in evidence all disputed documents or other exhibits referred to in the deposition. It follows that all the evidence, including evidence in cross-examination and all documents, reports included, namely PAH1, PAH2, PAH3, and PAH4, and PAR1A, PAR1E, PAR1C, PAR1D, PAR1E, and PAR1F, and PBD, PBD1A, PBD1B, PBD1C, PBD1D, PBD1A, 1, 2, PBD2, 1A, PBD2A, PBD3, PBD4, PBD1, PBE2, PBE3, PBE4, PBE5, PBE6, PBF1, PBF2, PBF3, and PBF4, coming from and tendered by the same petitioner's witnesses, namely, as I already listed, EW 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 21, 22, 23, 24, 26, and 27 aforementioned are incompetent and are hereby expunged from the records of this. other objections of respondents. That takes into the other objections raised by the respondents to the admission of documents tendered by petitioners at the hearing, which objections they only gave notice that they will give reasons at final address stage. All three respondents filed their submissions on the objections and adopted them 1st of August 2023. Petitioners on the same 1st of August also adopted their responses to those objections. Now, before going into the objections, I deem it necessary to first dispose of the preliminary argument of counsel to the petitioners that some of the documents objected to by respondents are electoral material certified by the first respondent INEC, which documents parties are agreed at the pre-hearing session that they will not object to. So respondents cannot reside from that agreement or raise objection as they are doing. They even cited section 169 of the Indexed Act 2011 to say respondents are stopped from residing in that agreement. The simple answer to that argument is that this court, and indeed every court, is bound to act on only admissible evidence. So if a document or piece of evidence is inadmissible in evidence, the court must expunge it, and it must do so even if that will require it to overrule its own interlocutory decisions admitting that evidence. See Shano and Africa and other authorities. I respect. As counsel, as ministers in the Temple of Justice, and therefore within their right and in fact duty bound to draw close attention to that fact, regardless of whatever agreement they may have had with petitioners at the pre-hearing session and the pre-hearing session. In any event, the court is only bound to honor lawful agreements, not unlawful ones, to admit evidence that are well within admissible. With that said, now proceed to allegations as contained in the addresses filed by respondents. Here, I shall make them take them together as I have done if reasons now advanced for them were canvassed earlier. Now, let's look at first respondents' alleged allegation of improper or non-certification of INEC documents. Answer to the first respondent in paragraphs 1.34 to 1.36 of first respondent's written address filed on 14th of July 2023. Second respondent at paragraph 3.13 of his 20th of July 2023 address, and third respondent in paragraph 1.14 of his written address of occasions filed on 14th of July 2023, all argue that the payment for certification is one condition precedent under section 104 of the Evidence Act 2011 for certification of public documents. They say petitioners did not pay for certification of some INEC documents, specifically exist EAJ1, EAJ to EAJ37, EAJ38, EAJ39A to F, EAJ40, EAJ41 to EAJ EAJ41 to EAJ7, EAK1, EAK13, EAL1, EAL2, EAQ to EAQ14, exhibits EAS1 to EAS20, the exhibit PAT1 to PAT17, then PAU1 to PAU17, PAB to PAB20, PAW1 to PAW25, PAX1 to PAS13, PAY1 to PAY18, PAZ1 to PAZ17, PBA17 to PBA27, PBB1 to PBB21, and did not provide any evidence of payment of certification fees. Then cancelled all citing the cases of Tabik Investment and GTB, Dimon, Minister of Federal Capital, Emeka and Chuba Ikweazu, argued that certification fees for the same documents having not been paid by the petitioners, documents remaining admissible and liable to be expunged from the records. Petitioners' response argued in paragraph 4.1 and paragraph 6.0 to 6.2, paragraph 2.1 to 3 of their response to second respondent, and paragraph 2.16 to 2.7 of their response to third respondent, that they actually paid certification fees to first respondent for their same document, and that they were issued receipts by the first respondent. Some of those receipts, they say, were attached to the document themselves, while others were separately receipted for, including in one instance payment of 6,669,301 naira with 5 kobo, and another for 150,967 naira 50 kobo. They argued that it was therefore unconscionable for first respondent who collected such huge sums of money from them to turn around and pay non-payment of certification fees. Then a senior counsel on petitioners behalf also pleaded the Evidence Act, Presumption of Regularity of Official Act, and submitted that it was strange that the public institution like first respondent will come before a court of law to disown documents officially issued by it. In specific response to third respondent's argument, counsel to petitioners argued that section 1041 and 2 of the Evidence Act 2011 does not prescribe that the amount paid for certification must be reflected on the certified true copy of the document as part of the certification. So the argument of third respondent's counsel that because the certification of the said entities did not carry the amount paid for certification fees were not paid for is clearly erroneous. Now, section 104 of the Evidence Act provides every public officer having custody of public document which any person has a right to inspect shall give that person on demand a copy of it on payment of the legal fees prescribed. In that respect, together with the certificate written at the foot of such copy that it is a certified true copy of such document or part of it as the case may be. Secondly, the certificate mentioned in subsection 1 of this section shall be dated and subscribed by such officer with his name and his official title, and shall be sealed whenever such officer is authorized by law to make use of a seal, and such copies shall be called certified true copies. There is nothing in the foregoing provision, particularly section 2, dealing with what should appear on the certification, that suggests that the fees paid for certification of a public document should also appear in the face of the document, like date, name, and official title of the public officer issuing the document as required by subsection 2. Payment of certification fees is only a condition precedent to the certification. So it could be stated in any other place, including another document. At that point, this court also made an answer to a similar argument in the Cash and Pullman. And see also Uzoma and Solike, ANPP and PDP, all these were declared where it was held that certification in fee contained a separate document is sufficient. In this case, not only is there evidence of certification fee payment by petitioners first in the form of the pleading, showing payment by petitioners to INEC of the sum of 150,967 naira 50 for some document. There is also a second INEC receipt, INEC's own letterhead, and attached to EAF cost. This latter document evidencing further payment of certification sum of 6,696,301 naira 50 kobo by the petitioners Atiku/EDP legal team shows that it was made by the receipt number RRR 270-842-65-3235 and INEC's receipt number 069-727 on 25th of May 2023 specifically states on its face does the sum of 6,696,301 naira 25 kobo only in payment for CTC IPO electronic of a copy of data label number data level, although not very legible, with time, then stamp, event history, polling unit of EC8As and S yet to be uploaded from EC9 and other documents 2023 presidential election of votes. All that, in our opinion, is sufficient evidence of certification e-payment. Even more so, when the receipt indicates that the same payment also covers other documents outside those specifically mentioned therein. Burden had thus shifted to the first respondent island to show that the monies it received from petitioners for certification e-payment did not cover the documents they are now talking about, which documents INEC interestingly also certified. That burden INEC never discharged, especially when account is taken of the fact that it did not even give the amount assessed, if any, that petitioners were owing the certification. And the provisions of Section 1041 of the Evidence Act and account for certification of public documents is only applied to pay what is assessed by the public officer. What is more, the mere fact that respondents certified the same documents for petitioners, coupled with the evidence of certification fee payment by petitioners in his ED and EF4C, sufficiently triggers the provision of Section 1681, the Evidence Act 2011, that says when any judicial act or official act is shown to have been done in a manner substantially regular, it is presumed that formal nature of the relevant certifying public officer of INEC, that, in our opinion, is substantial compliance with Section 104 of the Evidence Act and trust the presumption of genuineness guided Section 146 of the Evidence Act. First and second respondents in particular also argue that PAH1, PAH2, PAH3, and PAH4 tendered by PW21 Samuel Kunta and SBPR A to F tendered by PW26 Mr. Hitler A1 Mala were made during pendency of this proceeding or in anticipation of it and therefore inadmissible in evidence by ratio of 73 of the Evidence Act 2011 and admissible in evidence by ratio of 73 of the Evidence Act 2011. In their response, the petitioners argued that the same documents were paid pursuant to the orders of this court, pursuant to Section 146(1) of the Electoral Act 2022, permitting them to inspect documents, so they were properly before the court. Much as I am not oblivious of our earlier ruling, that these same documents coming from witnesses whose witness statements of both were not front-loaded with the petition, are incompetent and so already struck out. I'm also of the opinion that the petitioners seem to completely misconceive the objection raised by the respondents, which is to the effect that the same documents having been undeniably made during the pendency of this petition or in anticipation of it are rendered inadmissible by the principal law guiding admissibility of evidence, Evidence Act 2011 and Section 83 thereof. It is therefore lame of the petitioners to find their breach of that provision on account of the orders of this court made pursuant to Section 146 of 1 of the Electoral Act 2022. They be allowed to inspect polling documents in the custody of INEC. In any case, Section 146(1) of the Electoral Act 2022 merely states that an order for inspection of a polling document or any other document or packet in the custody of the Chief National Electoral Commissioner or any other officer of the Commission may be made by an election tribunal or a court of competent jurisdiction if it is satisfied that the order required is for the purpose of instituting, maintaining, or defending an election. This does not in any way give petitioners a leeway to adduce evidence in breach of Section 83 of the Evidence Act 2011. Section 146 of the Electoral Act 2011 and the interim orders of this court only permitted the petitioners to inspect election documents for the purpose of instituting or maintaining an election petition. Nothing in that provision allows the petitioner to file evidence, let alone multi expert reports, as in his PAH1, PAH1, PAR1, A to F, during the pendency of the petition. The whole idea behind Section 83.3 of the Evidence Act 2011 is to eliminate the danger inherent in allowing a party to manufacture and bring in evidence specifically tailored in anticipation of a case, or worse still, produce such fresh evidence after the case has begun and parties have fully joined issues in it. That is exactly what
the petitioner is supposed to do with his PAH1 and PAR1 A to F, prepared and filed by experts long after pleadings had closed, when respondents will no longer have the opportunity of obtaining their own experts to respond to the evidence presented against them in the same reports. I'm in agreement with the respondents and hereby uphold their objection that the same reports, which were admitted in evidence as PAH1,
PAH2, PAH3, and PAH4, and PAH4, and earlier decision that are incompetent is also rendered inadmissible evidence by virtue of Section 83 sub 3 of the Evidence Act 2022. No, sorry. Evidence Act 2011. Then the next one is the inadmissibility of election documents tendered as exhibits by petitioners on grounds of absence of pleading to support them and consequential irrelevance to the petition. The respondent's argument here are given. So we now give that to the resolution.
We've seen that the resolution we have is appears
to me that the respondent's objection here is misconceived and founded on isolated reading of paragraph 143 of the petition, where the petitioners assert that the first respondent and his agents wrongly and deliberately entered wrong results for the unlisted 22 states, namely Abia, Damawa, Akwa, Anambra, Bauchi, Bayelsa, Cross River Delta, Edo, Gombe, Imo, Kaduna, Katsina, Kebbi, Niger, Osun, Taraba states. Pleadings, they say, of party is not read in
a isolated manner to get at the party's complaint. Pleadings must be read holistically to get at the complaint issue. If that is done as it should be done, the respondents will have come across where petitioners let no one in doubt that their complaint about the election is nationwide and not isolated to only
a few states. That much is clear. First, from paragraph 107 of the petition, where petitioners avowed that the petitioner shall give evidence to show that the election results as purportedly declared by first respondent in respect of each state of the federation, including the Federal Capital Territory, the details of which are contained in the table below. The table was given are wrong. Then they proceeded to list each of every state of the federation. They also gave in the table wrong election figures declared by INEC for each state and FCT. Then in paragraph 147 of the same petition, they listed 60
different types of sets of documents they intended relying on to prove the same environment. Paragraph 107 of the wrongness of the results declared by INEC for each state in the FCT. Among those documents,
by them are the Beaver CTC reports, B, forms EC8 series, then EC8A, EC8B, EC8CC, EC8D, EC8DA, EC8E. That's a bit of return received by petitioners agents at the election. C, summary of the total registered voters on units basis. D, summary of PVCs collected on unit basis. E, data and event logs from all BVA's machines used in the election. And F, PVC collection records. These documents were specifically listed in paragraphs 147.1, then 6, 36, 37, 56, and 56
of the petition. These are the same averments of documents respondents are asserting were not pleaded by the petitioners, and so irrelevant and inadmissible in evidence, they are indeed wrong. This ambit of the objection of respondents is therefore overruled and rejected. Then objection made by only the third respondent. The next set of objections to documents tendered by the petitioners were raised by only third respondent. And now proceed to consider the admissibility of video clips. Arguments were advanced there on So we say that now about the opinion that the contention is also conceived, especially when regard is had to paragraphs 1, A, B, E, F, G of the certificate of authentication of the same video.
Made by Bill of 19, Dr. The authentication required by Section 4 of the Evidence Act. In the circumstances, the video clips in issue were made. The statements assuring the court that there are in exact state, same state they were in the internet, where Dr. Bill of 19 downloaded them to his laptop computer and subsequently to his flash drives before bringing them to his school. That much is evident in the contents of Dr. certificate in EAF or BFO. For the same reason, the argument of Dr. is not the argument that Dr. is not
The answer question on the same page, and so is evidence of them is also no secretary. Then there is also the issue of dumping of documents on court as ground for admissibility. This one. Okay, that's part of the issue which will be considered deeply. When so dumped are already in evidence before the court only goes to the weight to be attached to the documents by the court. On this reasoning, this ground of the objection is rejected and overruled. Then also there is allegation that
documents tendered were either made during tendency of this proceeding, an anticipation of it by blessed practices done in total consideration of this area. So we'll go to number 3. He said also that SB's PBD, PBD1A, PBD1B, PBD1C, PBD1D, PBD1A, PBD2A, PBD3, and up to PBF4, tendered by the petitioners to PW27, might now to show second respondents non-qualification for the presidential election on grounds of his alleged convictions to fly.
in the United States of America, forgery of certificates and dual citizenship are irrelevant to the proceeding and so inadmissible in evidence. Petitioners having not pleaded necessary facts in their petition to support them. This also was looked at by us, and I have already ruled while considering the preliminary objection of the respondents to the petition and replies of the petitioners. Paragraph 146 of the petition, where the petitioners averred to non-qualification of second respondent for 2023 presidential election, was bereft of fact to sustain it. I also held that the fresh are incompetent, liable to be struck out, and were indeed struck out. Amongst records of this court, summary of all of
He said all those ones we have mentioned, and also the encouraged here, he said that the objection is there, Mr. Sir, that evidence together with the documents reports included, gathered by the same witnesses, hereby explained from the records of this court. Secondly, the objection of respondents to his PAH1, PAH2, PAH3, PAH4, made by Mr. Samuel Oguntobi, and his PAR1A to F, made by Mr. Hilary Wala, PW26, is also further upheld, and the same documents already held incompetent and inadmissible by earlier rulings are again hereby pronounced inadmissible in evidence on this ground too. Then the third one, exhibit or the objection of third respondent to the admissibility of at least PBD, PBD1A, PBD1B, PBD1C, PBD1T, PBD1A, PBD2A, PBD3, PBD4.
3, 4, 5. The second respondent alleged non-qualification that was tendered by TW sub. W1 closed case. Second respondent also tendered document and called one witness at W. The third respondent did not call any witness but tendered documentary evidence.
Because of the case of Atiku, the court ordered two addresses. The addresses were filed the same. The final address, 41st respondent filed on the July 2023. Land leading civil counsel, the first one, the AB Mahmoud Isse, raised 4 issues. One, whether having regard to section 47 of section 2 and 3 of the electoral paragraphs 38 and 9 of the regulations and guidelines for the conduct of election and totality of evidence required the inability
to transmit the polling unit results electronically in time in real time using the beaver device. The Irish portal confused non-compliance with the Electoral Act if such substantially affected the outcome of the presidential election held on 25th day of February 2023. 2. Whether there exists cogent and credible evidence of corrupt practice to warrant the invocation of the presidential election held on 25th day of February 2023. 3. Whether going by the provisions of section 1.31 or unmatching sound Constitution of Federal Code Nigeria was amended, the second respondent was at the time of the presidential election held on 25th day of February 2022, not qualified to contest the said election. 4. Whether upon proper construction of section 134(2)(b of the Constitution of Federal Code Nigeria 1999, the requirement that the candidate must score not less than 1/4 of the votes cast at the election in each of at least 2/3 of all states in the Federation of the Federal Capital Territorial Area means that a successful candidate must specifically score at least 1/4 of the votes cast at the Federal Capital Territorial Area in all states. The second respondent, through counsel, was laid on the land case that filed the written address of 14 July 2023. He raised for termination 4 issues which were listed as follows. 1. Considering the relevant provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, the salient provisions of the electoral alternative as well as the admissible evidence on record, whether the election of the second respondent to the office of President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria on 26 February 2023 was not in substantial compliance with the principles and the provisions of the Electoral Act 2022. 2. In view of the clear provisions of the Constitution, the Electoral Act 2022 and plethora of official president on the criteria for qualification of candidates for election to the office of President, coupled with the peculiar circumstances of this petition, while the petitioners pleaded no fact in support of their allegation of non-qualification. Second respondent, whether the second respondent was or is not eminently qualified to contest the presidential election 25th February 2023. 3. Upon the combined review from 134 and 299, as well as other relevant provisions of the Constitution, Section 66 of the Electoral Act and other relevant statutes, whether the second respondent has not satisfied the solicitor constitutional and statutory requirements to declare winner of the presidential election 26 February 2023 and that President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. 4. Considering the constitution of the petition and the task of the accused, whether this honorable court can accede to any of the beliefs being named and claimed by the petition. Third respondent, through her lead counsel, filed final address for simple permission. Similarly, 4 issues were generated for termination. One, whether having regard to the relevant and admissible evidence set by the parties, the conduct of the present election held on 25th day of February 2023 was deviated by non-compliance, corrupt practices that was substantially enough directed and attributed to the second respondent as to have affected the outcome of the election and to justify the invitation of the election in a manner defined by the applicable provisions of the Electoral Act 2022. Two, whether the party will prove it that first petitioner and not second respondent got majority of lawful votes cast and satisfied the constitutional requirement of having 1/4 of the votes cast each of at least 2/3 of all states of the federation and the federal capital territory to declare and stand as the winner of the presidential election held on 26 February 2023 has been discharged as petition. Three, whether having regard to the issue joint and evidence-led on the qualification of the second respondent contest in the presidential election held on 26 February 2023, the petitioner has established that the second respondent was not qualified to contest the presidential election provided for in the Constitution and the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as altered. Four, whether having regard to the totality of the evidence led by the parties and the applicable law, the petitioners are entitled to succeed on any of the reliefs sought in the petition at all, or that the petition ought to be dismissed in favor of the respondent. In response to the addresses filed by the first, second, and third respondent, the petitioners, through their legal counsel, Chief Chris Uche, filed their respective written addresses on 21st July, 22nd July, and 23rd July 2023. The petitioner's senior counsel filed separate written addresses for the first, second, and third addresses. The issue for termination raised in the three written addresses filed by the petitioner in response to each of the written addresses of the respondents are the same, and they are: one, whether the return of the second respondent in the election to the office of the President, the Federal Republic of Nigeria held on 25th day February 2023 was not invalidated by reason of substantial non-compliance with the provisions of the electronic transmission of results for collection and verification. Two, whether the second respondent was lawfully declared and returned as the winner of the election held on 25th day of February 2023, having not secured one of the valid votes cast in the federal government as required by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended. Three, whether the second respondent was not disqualified under the provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended to contest the presidential election held on the 25th day of February 2023, having regard to the alleged order of forfeiture arising from that related offense, disposition of the citizenship of the country other than Nigeria, and presenting a false certificate of first respondent. Four, whether the first respondent was not wrong in returning the second respondent when he was not duly elected by termination of his petition. The issues for terminations are modified as follows. One, whether the return of the second respondent in the election to the office of President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria held on 25th day of February 2023 was invalid by reason of substantial non-compliance with the provisions of the Electoral Act. Two, whether the second respondent was lawfully declared and returned as the winner of the presidential election held on 25th day of February 2023, having not secured 1/4 of the valid votes cast in the federal capital. Three, whether the second respondent was not disqualified under the provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended to contest the presidential election held on 26th day of February 2023, having regard to the alleged order of forfeiture arising from that related offense, the position of the citizen of the country other than Nigeria, and presenting a false respondent. Four, whether the second respondent was duly elected by majority of the lawful vote cast on the first respondent was right and returning him as duly elected. So we go to issue one, which is whether the return of the second respondent in the election to the office of President of Federal Republic of Nigeria held on 25th day of February 2023 invalid by reason of substantial non-compliance with the Electoral Act. Yes, we have that the commission of council right? Yeah. So we just go straight to the position of that issue. This issue of non-compliance directly standing on the first ground of the petition. Thus, by paragraph 16A of the petitioner stated that the election of the second respondent is invalid by reason of non-compliance with the provisions of the Electoral Act. By section 1341E of the Electoral, non-compliance with the Act is the ground for questioning or challenging an election. Primarily, the law is well settled that the results declared by the INEC.
The formal reply for equality was applied. Fortunately, for the appellant and first respondent, only presumption which implies that any person who questions the validity of an act in favor of which there is doctrine of regularity has a duty to rebut the presumption which project and trading flimsy or half-hearted rebuttal no suffice. Any petitioner who complains that the law is either wrong or not in compliance with the law as wrong or not in compliance with the law as always proving contrary. The use of the side. This case was brought upon by the Supreme Court in the case of another and where the Supreme Court only gave JSC as follows.
No, important person on the platform will have a consultation of the platform. So the platform was what challenge or not yet. What do you challenge? What do you propose to life group? So all the charges are so no one here. So if you want to apply one day, whatever
substantial affected the language scheme of council petitioner in the petition argues that the burden of proof is on the person asserting positive and not on the person asserting negative. The petitioner appears that positive came to close the line of person who have the burden of proof in a question.
System of justice in civil cases when the primary onus of proof is on the petitioner who makes all the claims against the conduct of this case. Well, we have started this case of Dashe and Bloomberg, who was just here. Earlier petition, petition 3. Usually the battle of proof is the day fought by the petitioner to the substance of the petition. The battle of proof rests upon the party whose substantial asserts speaks at the beginning of the trial by the state.
If the party was the battle of proof, not discharge the party, should not be addressing. The case of activity and the life upon by the petitioner started in the recent case of Colorado, where the Supreme Court followed this as follows. Petition is there. It is therefore certain that the terms negative and affirmative are relative and not absolute. The burden of first proving existence or non-existence of an assertion or fact, whether positive or fundamental to point out that from the pleadings, the allegation of non-compliance generated by the petitioner under Section 1341 and 135 of the Petition Act, the level of proof required for such a but there was proof of non-compliance and the further proof that the non-compliance is result of the election. In the face of such an allegation of non-compliance, what is enjoined by the law not to invalidate an election if it appears that the election was conducted substantially according to the principles of the Electoral Act. All said and done, the petitioners have the primary burden of proving that there was non-compliance and that the non-compliance affects substantially the result of the election before the burden can shift to the respondent to establish that there was no substantial non-compliance with the Electoral Act in the conduct of the election. If petitioners have in their petition listed some of the facts relating to their complaint of non-compliance to the Electoral Act, the key paragraphs of their petition in that regard are paragraphs 18, 22, 23, 25, 28, 29, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 44, 46, or 48%. The respondents joined issues with the petitioners in respect of this issue, and they all denied the facts stated by the petitioners. The denials of the first respondent in his reply are very significant. In paragraph 17, 18, 19, 31, 30, 32, 34, 35, 36, and 34, the first respondent replied to the petition. The first respondent in great measure denied all the allegations of the petition. In the petition. Since those paragraphs are direct and straight denied by the first respondent, the burden remains on the petitioner to establish their claim as required by the law. Apart from the first respondent, who is the primary respondent, due to the fact that acts that are challenged in this petition, the second and third respondents, who are the beneficiaries of the declaration of the result, join issues with the petition. The second respondent replied to the petition countered all the petitioners of the issue. Issue 1 with paragraph 6, 33, 56, and 57 thereof. That respondent countered the petitioner's allegation with paragraph 26, 37, and 40. Non-compliance in ordinary parlance means failure or refusal to do something that you are officially supposed to do. The Shulua and another was to go there.
13 the electoral appeal committee in an explicit manner has laid out clearly grounds on which an election can be questioned. Section 134 thereof. Then there is Section 135 of the Electoral Act, which looks like Provision 134 for proper appreciation of the intent of the law. Section 134 and 135 of the Electoral Act.
Others, Rosenthal and others, and CPC has added others. So in all these decisions, the potential burden of proof for non-compliance lies on the petitioner, who must first prove that there was non-compliance, and secondly, that the non-compliance has substantially affected stated because.
Let me say that at the risk of sounding repetitive, that it is after the petitioner is discharged, the petitioner.
Any agent called was state and national collection agent for Agada Kai. His statement at pages 198-200 petition. He won 8 and 11 of his statement. He deposed that from his analysis of non-compliance and corrupt practice such as suppression of votes, manipulation of this would be the cause of this malpractice.
Evidence of what can say as I think petition. His statement was examination, he said he only visited 19 polling units out of the
time. The law allows political parties to have their agents at all polling units and collation centers. It is therefore not anticipated by the law for any political party to appoint an octopus agent with his tentacles in all the polling units and collation centers. This is humanly not practicable. When therefore evidence is required to prove what happened in any polling unit or collation center, it is only the agent who witnessed the anomaly or the malfeasance that can legally and credibly testify. It follows therefore that PW 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, up to 11, PW 19, 20, and 20, who was state and national collection agent for the petitioners, can only testify of the events in their units or collection centers where they voted or acted as agents.
Hearsay evidence is not admissible except as provided for in the law. This court in several cases has explained the intent of legislation.
That is after the John and Koji. The high assembly is not admissible. Koji. The high assembly is not admissible. Because the fact not and their evidence will bring out the facts of how they present the election. The evidence is that the election was conducted as a polling of the election. The votes were recorded on the result sheet and the result for PCFA that was supposed to be uploaded to the IRA portal. Further, the election. PW 13 Grace Timothy, who was the president, she could not upload the result of the election to the IRA, but that the party that she took the original result to the vote coalition, and the result was the same story was told by the PW 17. Alheri Ayuba, but could not upload the results. The presiding officer for Bolori West, Ward 04, AP, unlike the Jaro polling unit 03.
Could not upload results to IRS after using Beaver's votes with her before she took the results to the World Collection Center. The period with the Beavers was party agents emphatically and directly testified that the election went well and votes. No again saying the fact that under the Electoral Act 2022, election states
each state to survey some of the problems of the law in this respect. This law has made it mandatory for accreditation of voters for the election to be done with the aid of a smart card reader or any other technological device that may be prescribed by the first respondent. The first respondent exercised the discretion given by the law to prescribe the use of bimodal voter attestation system, that Beavers for short, and popularly known as Beavers or Beavers machine. As the name indicates, Beavers is primarily a technological device for attestation. By paragraph 18A of the regulations and guidelines for the conduct of elections 2022, the use of Beavers for attestation is mandatory, and all the poll officers who fail to use it for accreditation shall be accused of dereliction of duty and penalized. After a voter passes accreditation, that he will be allowed to vote. The bottom line of every election exercise is to the goal. Election must be result-oriented and successful.
The issue of the vote cast and the result of the election. So for that purpose, as reveals Section 25 of the Electoral Act, regulates the steps it follows. So this provision makes it clear and straightforward that voting for all elections takes place at the polling unit, and that is why the election is won or lost. The law requires that since the present election, unlike others, is not done in one location but throughout the country, collection of votes commences at the registration area to ward level after voting. Then it moves to the local government level, and then to the state collection center, and finally to the national collection center. It is after this that the winner of the election can be announced. Furthermore, Section 60 and 60 of the electoral act deal with the counting and collection of vote cards. These provisions of the electoral act are very simple, plain and straightforward, and do not require any technical construction. The law is tight. The law words used in the statute are clear and unambiguous. The courts are instrumented to interpret the words in their ordinary natural meanings. Words used are to be interpreted in a way that will not clash with and defeat the manifest intention of the legislation. Every legislation is scripted by the lawmaker to the public.
The court must be careful not to interpret the law so as to create absurdity or make nonsense of the law. In the case of Imano, others versus Onyape, others Brigade, Anit, Aguma, and APC and others, Lado, and another was Masari and others. The law as prescribed in section 60 and 60 of the Electoral Act does not in any form or sense make any provision or pretension to any form of counting and collection of election votes other than manual election. In Oyekola and Anik Suka, the Supreme Court by agency held on the foundation results, the essence and status of the collection system and the Anik area portal as follows before. As I have said here, there is no part of the Electoral Act requiring the presiding officer to transmit attributed voters in the polling unit, what the polling unit results during election to the ANIC database as part of the election process. As stated in section 62(1) of the Electoral Act 2022, after the recording and announcement of the result, the presiding officer shall deliver them along with the election materials under security and accompanied by the candidates or their polling unit, polling agents who are available to serve persons as may be prescribed by the Commission. This is to enable the Commission to compile, maintain, and update on a continuous basis the register of election results. This intention is clear from subsection 2 of section 62, which provides that the Commission shall compile, maintain, and update on a continuous basis the register of election results known as the National Electronic Register of Election Results, which shall be a distinct database or repository of polling unit by polling unit results, including collected election results of each election conducted by the Commission in the Federation, and the register of election results shall be kept in electronic format by the Commission National Record. As their names depict, the collection system and the annual result being portal are part of the election process and play particular roles in that process. The collection system is made of the centers where results are collected at various stages of the election. So the polling unit results transmitted to the collection system provides the relevant collection officer the means to verify a polling unit result as the need arises for the purpose of collection. The result transmitted to the result viewing portal is to give the public at large the opportunity to view the polling unit result on the election day. Clear from the positions of Regulation 38(1) and 2 that the collection system and the result viewing portal are different from the national electronic register of election results. The collection system and result stability are used as referring to forms ECSS.
I inspected the forms ECSS at the ANIC headquarters. I do not know if those forms ECSS are before the court. I am aware that the forms ECSS are stored in the various state headquarters. If what are stated in paragraph 2 at page 4 of Exhibit PA-1 is wrong, my conclusion is wrong. I have seen column 1, volume 3, Exhibit PA-4 at page 191. It refers to polling unit 00906, Anambra State. When cross-examined by Chicolin Land Business and Professional School and the PW 21 said, I have seen paragraph 5A of my written statement of. It is true that I did not present the report to Khalid Yaradua. I agree that no pictorial images of the electoral documents are referred to in my statement are attached to my statement. I am aware that PDP won the election in Adamawa State. By my report, we are not satisfied by the votes returned by ANIF in Adamawa State, including the votes scored by the first petitioner. I say so because I am not satisfied by irregular votes recorded in Adamawa State. That is why I sought the deduction of those votes. By my report, the petitioners won the election in
by my figures, I am not satisfied with the score of PDP in those states because they are treated irregularly. I am also aware that Labour Party also won the election in 12 states. All the states won by Labour Party have also called for the deduction of those votes. I was in the situation when the PDP on the day of the election. I have seen the report for Kano State PAH. Furthermore, in response to the cross-examination of the Latin Civil Council for Start of Fund and Family Minister, the PW 21 said, it is true that I have been following ANIC activities since 1999. There was a time that ANIC chairman said the results for the 2023 election will be completed electronically and real time. I did not hear the ANIC chairman announce 2 days to the election due to the security and cash crunch. Elections will not be possible. It would not be possible to transmit the results as promised. The inspection of the electoral documents was carried out in the presence of agents of PDP. I did not make copies of those documents. I was assisted in my assignment by a number of people. Each of these played a role. I stated the role played by each of those persons. I have seen volume 3 of my report. The same volume 3 of my report deals with any documents which were not signed or stamped. I did not indicate which of them were not signed or stamped. I have seen the table in paragraph number 22 of my witness statement. Only 26 states are mentioned there. In my report on the electoral documents not signed or stamped, I mentioned 28 states. I stated that I analyzed the electoral documents from 36 states. It is true that my candidate's votes cannot be deducted more than once in the unit. I did not conduct extraction of the Beavers report. I am aware that Beavers machine was used for multiplication. I am the only one who signed the report because I was the team leader. I worked in all the states where alteration took place, including the states where PDP worked. That was the state treatment of PW 21 examination. It is tried in our law that cross-examination is a formidable tool for the demolition of the case of the government. The purpose of cross-examination is to discredit the witness called by the adversary. In the recent case of PDP and others, Muhammad and others, the Supreme Court held that the primary object of cross-examination is to contradict the evidence of the opponent's witness in order to weaken his case. It is best resorted to in order to test the veracity. It has in the instant case been clearly established that by cross-examination, the PW1 testimony has lost steam and value. A close look at the reports, exhibit PAH1 to PAH3, will indicate that the witness was quoted for 5,270 polling units, while he claimed that from NSA were altered and
also talked of 15,002 polling units, where from SANs were not stamped and signed. Yet all that is contained in the report are figures and data of these forms. None of the physical forms were exhibited in the report or tendered separately by any of the witnesses. In that situation, it is very difficult for the court to ascertain the truth of the allegation that several forms SANs had a lot of alterations and they were not signed by the The law particularly requires that the presiding officers must sign these documents. Signing for ECNA is subscribing to the authenticity of the results. Where there is allegation that the forms were not signed, it must be clearly proved by petitioners. The result forms must be presented in court for the court to verify loud signature from stamp and any alteration of the form. Since PW21, who authored exhibits PH3 and PAH4, did not place this with his report, and the petitioner did not call any of the polling unit agents to testify and place the forms before the court, we give vent to the allegation of alteration and no sign to the form ECLS for the 5,270 polling units listed in exhibit PAH2, and the form ECLS not signed come for the 15,002 polling units in exhibit PAH3. That
allegation is confounded, not proved as required by the law. On petitioner's allegation, the first offender failed to collect the election result using the electronic collection system. The petitioners have not been able to prove that the electoral or the guidelines made it mandatory for electronic collection system. I have carefully considered the submission of parties on this issue non-compliant with the provisions of the Electoral Act and the paragraphs of the regulation and guidelines for the conduct of election 2022. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, the first respondent hearing is established by Section 153(1)(f) of the Constitution, and part of his functions as stated in paragraph 15, item F, part 1, start schedule to the said Constitution is to organize, undertake, and supervise elections, including election to the office of President and Vice President, among other political offices listed. Being a creation of the Constitution, INEC is empowered by Section 161 to make its own rules or otherwise regulate its own procedure, and in so doing it shall not be under the control of the president. Indeed, by Section 158(1) of the Constitution, INEC shall not be subject to the direction of control of any authority or person. By Section 4 of the 1999 Constitution, the legislative powers of the federal government will be vested in the National Assembly, which in the exercise of that power has enacted the Electoral Act to regulate the conduct of elections in the federal, state, and area council of the federal capital territory. Section 47(2) of the Electoral Act, relied upon by the petitioner, mandates every presiding officer to use a smart card reader or any other technological device that may be prescribed by the Commission for the application of voters to verify, confirm, or authenticate the particulars of the intending voter in the manner prescribed by the Commission. Also, under Section 65 of the Act, the presiding officer shall transfer the results of the election, including the total number of registered voters and the results of the ballot in the manner prescribed by the Commission. Section 62(1) of the Act specifically provides that after the recording and announcement of the result, the presiding officer shall deliver same along with election materials under security and accompanied by the candidate or their agents or returning officer as an election shall collect and announce the result of an election subject to his verification and confirmation that A, number of accredited voters stated for the collected results are correct and consistent with the number of accredited voters recorded and transmitted directly from polling units under Section 47 of the Act. And B, the votes stated on the collected results are correct and consistent with the votes recorded and transmitted directly from the polling units under Section 64. At this stage, it should be noted that Section 47(2) referred to in Section 64(4)(a) relates to procedure for accreditation of voters by the presiding officer using the technological device prescribed by the Commission. As for Section 64, referred to in Section 64, paragraph 4 of the Act, it only mandates the presiding officer to come and announce the result at the polling unit. In fact, Section 5 and Section 6 both ahead to mandate the presiding officer transfer the result including total number of accredited voters and the result of the ballot in the manner prescribed by
the Act also to provide Section 66 of Section 5 that the collection officer or return officer shall use the number of accredited voters
related and all these, the Electoral Act 2022 has not specifically provided
the result of the election shall be electronically transmitted. It is in the exercise of his powers under Section 160, subsection 1 of the 1999 Constitution, and Section 148 of the Electoral Act 2020 that the first respondent hearing made the regulations and guidelines for the conduct of the election as well as any manual for election of 2023. In paragraphs 14A and 18A of the regulation, the first respondent prescribed by model voter accreditation system as the technological device for the purpose of accreditation and verification of voters in the 2023
One for the delivery by the presiding officer of the result, along with other election materials standards and accompanied by candidates for their polling agents, were available by the first respondent. The first respondent, as by paragraph 30 of the regulation,
after which the presiding officer shall take the paper and the original copy of each of the forms to the registration area of all election center. From the above functions of the papers, it is clear to me that apart from using the paper to scan the physical copy of the polling unit result and upload them to the result view portal area, there is nothing in the regulation to show that the paper was meant to be used to electronically transmit or transfer the results of the polling unit direct to the collection system. It will be noted that any result view portal area is not a collection system. Thus, the Supreme Court in Procedural and Annex has explained the difference between the collection system and area, where the JSC get as follows. As their names depict, the collection system and the area result viewing portal are part of the election process and play particular roles in that process. The collection system is made of the centers where results are collected at various stages of the election. So, the polling units results transmitted to the collection system provide the relevant collection officer the means to verify the polling unit result as the need arises for the purpose of collection. The result transmitted to the result viewing portal is to give the public at large opportunity to view the polling unit results at the election day. Close of court. A community reading of the relevant provisions of the Electoral Act 2022, the regulations and guidelines of 2023 show that the Electoral Act expressly provides Section 621 that after recording an announcement of the result, the presiding officer shall deliver said along with election materials and the security and accompanied by the candidate or their polling agent, third person as may be prescribed by the Commission. The regulations and guidelines as well as the added bylaw also state that hard copies of election results shall be used for collection, and it is only where such hard copies of the election results exist. No such part of the election results exist that the electronic transmitted results will result from the annual use of the result. I had earlier said that the non-compliance that can significantly affect the result of an election must decide that it's substantial enough to cause the court to invalidate it as prescribed by Section 135 of the Electoral Act. The burden of federal proof is primarily of the petitioner to establish the existence of those facts or allegations asserted by them. It is important to note here that although election petitions are sui generis, they are governed by evidence act. Where therefore an election petition is founded on allegations of non-compliance as indicated from the myriad of decisions, the onus is directly on the petitioner not only to establish that through credible and comparative evidence, they have to go further and demonstrate through credible evidence that the non-compliance is substantial and that the non-compliance will affected the result of the election when they are being not the agenda days and another any output of any okay but maybe get there sharp in the challenge and others. The Electoral Act makes provision for the declaration of results and the posting of results of the election. This is Section 66 and 68 of the Act. This judgment. By the law, results are declared by the county proposed tax to the election and in accordance with the transition provision for the election of the president as in Section 133 and 134 of the Constitution. The votes so counted and collected are the vote cast at the polling units. Let me underline here that the conduct of an election, in the conduct of an election, certain processes must have been worked over to conclude and confirm that the election was conclusive. The steps outlined by the law must not be broken. These steps are petition, conduct of votes, counting of votes, collation and announcement of results, signing of result forms, publication of results. The results by the beliefs told by the petitioners are declaratory in nature, which is law that while a petitioner seeks declaratory leaves, the burden is on him to establish his claim. His success is on the strength of his own case and not on the witness of the defense of the respondent or defendant, the missionary